Good evening and welcome back to our council meeting. Our next piece of business is there's a set of minutes in the package from July 14th CAC. Are there any changes to this set of minutes? I have one change. The piece in there about the business park, I voted positive for that and it's showing up negative. That's my only change. Any other changes from council? Okay, we will accept those into our package. We'll now move on to a presentation. We're going to invite Sophia up from the Clean Foundation to present.
Am I good to go?
Yeah, you can adjust the table too if you want. And your presentation is on the main desktop.
Perfect. Is it? Okay. I don't, is it a file situation?
Just view.
Oh, there we go.
Spend way too much time up there.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be back in front of you again this fall. It's hard to believe that it's almost been a year of CCC supporting the town of Kentville under this council's leadership. And with that in mind, I wanted to come tonight to give you a bit of an update over the past year of work through this program. So, as you know, the CCC program is organized by 3 objectives for each year of the program. These are the 3 objectives that we've been working on for the past year with the town of Kentville. Starting with stormwater management, obviously this is a priority for the town, especially having the stormwater management master plan finished this past spring. And we have really been focused on identifying funding opportunities to support the projects made in the recommendations of that plan. In addition to that work, we partnered with Coastal Action, a nonprofit based out of Mahone Bay, to support a natural stormwater management project in Oakdean Park. So the Coastal Action team partnered with the Oakdean Community Garden to install that rain garden, both to help with the water accumulation that's been happening in that area, but also to act as a demonstration site so that community members can actually see what it looks like to implement nature-based solutions like a rain garden on property. We have continued working in the QUEST program. So QUEST is also a nonprofit, a Canadian nonprofit that is supporting communities creating energy and emission plans. So this really looks at the greenhouse gases that the community produces, whether that's things like the town-owned buildings or from transportation, but these kinds of things. And then identifying opportunities to reduce these energy uses and then also access renewable energy sources. And we're actually really focused on identifying a lens of economic impact within Kentville as well. So identifying opportunities for these projects to not only lower energy use, but also lower power bills for the town and also for residents. The Community Energy and Emissions Plan is really well aligned with the provincial goal of hitting net zero by 2050, and it'll be really instrumental in Kentville's transition to a clean energy in the years to come. And then, of course, we have the Bird Friendly Initiative. So this is something that we've been working on since the beginning of this program. And we're really working with Nature Canada right now to understand what it looks like to do bird-friendly projects in the Kentville context. So we see, large urban centers and municipalities participating in these kinds of programs, but it obviously looks different to do this kind of work in a rural and in a small municipal setting. But we really are excited about the biodiversity strategy that was passed in the spring, and we're focused on beginning to implement the recommendations made through that strategy. So, like I said, it's been a year, and I wanted to take a second to step back and kind of look at the work that we've done so far through the program. I know I've said this before, but I say it because it's true. Kentville is a leader in the CCC program. The engagement that we're seeing from your staff and also from yourselves and the way that you are supporting this work is it's what we strive to see municipalities doing in CCC. So I feel very grateful to be able to work with this community, and I think that the work that we've already accomplished really speaks to that. So thank you. In this past year, we have really been able to identify the importance of aligning the work that we're doing under CCC with the priorities of your municipality. So we really want to add capacity, as is in the name of the program, but that means putting energy where the work needs to happen. So the more that we can align the work that we're doing in CCC with the priorities, with the ongoing work that's already happening in the municipality, that's when we see the most success coming from these projects. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which I'm actually going to move to, and this is just to talk about the picture here. This is Jennifer and Alicia presenting at our community summit last March, and they did a really excellent job talking about some of the bird-friendly stuff happening in Kentville. But the last point that I was making was the community climate risk assessment. So this is a really important project, and it looks at climate risks. So these are things like flooding, fire, extreme weather, these kinds of things, and how they're impacting Kentville today, and then how that is projected to change and impact Kentville in the next 20, 50, 100 years. And then with that data, we want to look at what the priorities are of the community, of council, of staff. And that helps us think about what we can do to make Kentville more able to adapt to climate change. And the reason that this project is really important, not only because we need to be thinking about these things as we're moving into more uncertain times, but also because it is now a prerequisite to access a lot of climate funding. So this climate risk assessment is something that funders are looking for before we can even apply to most climate-related funds. So we're really excited to be starting this project this fall. This is something that you approved in January of this year, and it means that we're going to keep the door open to be able to apply to the climate-related funding streams that we continue to see opening. And then I've also listed some other initiatives that we have been working on. I'm not going to touch on them all today for the sake of time, but please feel free to reach out if you ever want to talk about any of the work that I've been helping with. And then I just wanted to touch on what's to come. So we are just about halfway through the CCC program, and this is what we can anticipate coming in the next year and a half. I have been working to support a little bit of the HWA work that was happening this spring and summer, and really looking at the higher level urban management and what that can look like as Kentville is working to protect its green spaces now and into the future. As I mentioned, we're beginning to implement the plans that we have been creating. So obviously year one was really focused on foundation building, on applying to funding, and now we're really looking at what it looks like to do those projects. So that's both the biodiversity strategy and then hopefully the community energy and emissions plan with the Quest program once that's completed. And then, although I hate to say it, we're starting to look beyond the CCC program to what it looks like for Kentville to maintain this work moving forward, and really transitioning that capacity from me to the staff to make sure that this is something that can be sustained beyond the 3 years of CCC. But we don't need to talk anymore about that today. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophia. I'll open the floor now to council if you have any questions you want to ask. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Sophia. Thank you for your presentation. I'm curious about the climate risk assessment. I'm assuming that you'll be sharing that with council, and that you may be looking at the Dillon report that was done on the stormwater master plan that was completed by them. Just wondering how the two of those, how you'll use that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So all of the information that was gained from the master plan is definitely one piece of a lot of different climate risks. And so as we're thinking about stormwater and flooding, I think that we're really going to turn to that to help us understand both, like, through the recommendations, what the work is that needs to be done, But there's also other kinds of climate risks that we can consider and look into as well. So, things like drought, invasive species like the HWA. So these are all pieces that we'd love to have as much information like we do about the stormwater management for.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
I guess there's no more questions. Thank you very much for your hard work and for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to department reports and recommendations, and we'll start with the money one. We'll start with Director Matthews. You're on now, yeah.
Oh, there we are. Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. A package has been pre-circulated, and I'll go through just a few of the highlights. I wanted to note that we have the water utility rate study is continuing along with work you will have noticed around the HR needs assessment. We're still in the responding to questions and providing responses. So we don't have a date, as it noted, around when the water utility rate study will be conclude at this point and when it will get before the Regulatory and Appeals Board. I also have provided for you where we are in terms of compliance for our reporting recommendations to the province. From the financial side, you will have noticed that we are continuing to finalize the sanitary sewer operating budget. Capital budget has already been approved. We do anticipate a rate adjustment coming for that. And I will note that we have 1819, correct me, Director Bell, but 1819 would have been the last time we had a rate increase. And we have been looking at where those expenses have been rising. And in particular, which wouldn't be a surprise to council, a big portion of those changes relate to treatment and disposal agreement with the County of Kings. And that agreement has seen some substantial increases. So just to let you know kind of where some of those drivers will be as we bring forward a final budget and rate adjustment in coming weeks. Our statement of operations is included in the package. You did have a couple of missing sheets of paper, so those have been put in each of your areas, the financials that go along with the analysis that was provided. There was nothing material within the analysis, any different than one would expect at this point in the year. From a capital point of view, you have that detail in Appendix B. I would just note that I have included an additional report that may be of use to council. So you will see that we have 18.4% of our budget expended. You may have also noted that we do have a forecast that is just a little bit less than our budget by about $143,000. In the investment status report, that gives you a detailed breakdown by individual approved project, what the budget was, what the forecast is anticipated to be at this point in the fiscal year, and the status of the project. That hopefully will dovetail with the narrative reports that are provided by my director colleagues and the chief of police around what's happening on those projects. So it was intended to be a one-stop shop really for the financial aspect of those projects as they continue to unfold through the planning to completion stage. I also have provided you with a status of our tax billing for the second final bill for this year, along with where we stand in collection of the 24-25 tax bills. And you may have noticed that we had a substantial decrease in July for outstanding prior year bills. So that has gone down 33%. And we've been keeping track of the number of tax accounts that are outstanding this year versus last year. And for the first time in a while this month, we are at only one account in the difference. So that is, we are seeing less outstanding amounts than we would have seen this time last year. So that is what I wanted to highlight, but I'm open to any questions that council has.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Director Matthews based on her report? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Director, for your report. Realize that we have limited control over the sewer and water review, but as indicated earlier, that we're in a deficit position for every month that time goes by. How much of a deficit per month are we in, and how long is that going to accumulate for?
We anticipate being able to finalize a draft budget. I'm looking to CAO in case I'm going astray, but we are hopeful to get that to you within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, great.
And we wouldn't anticipate incurring any more of a deficit, we would hope, beyond the end of September. That would be our hope. However, it may be a little later than that, maybe into October. We would want to make sure council can make the decision and we can let residents and businesses know what the new rate is prior to that rate changing.
Yes,
So
of
I would
course.
say the earliest the rate could change would be October 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Have I led anyone astray, CAO? Okay, good.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Director Matthews. So I'll just dovetail on what Councillor Baker said, or ask, I guess. So considering that we haven't changed the rate since 2018, 2019, and there will be a sewer rate adjustment, is this, and I suspect it could be considerable.
Right.
What I recall. Will it be phased in? Will it just be carte blanche? It'll just start, or will we give residents some sort of notice and or breaks and phase it in?
We'll have to make that decision, I guess.
So staff will bring forward
Okay.
a recommendation along with those options to council for your consideration.
Okay.
When we talk about the rate change, I highlighted the agreement with the county, and I know Director Bell and myself have been working through some of those changes, and the change in that agreement value just this last year, going from 24-25 to 25-26, was 37.5% increase.
Right, yeah.
And it represents about 70 to 75% of our overall costs.
Yeah, okay.
The total that we spend on sanitary sewer, about 70 to 75% of those total costs for that service comes from that agreement. Yeah, so it does significantly influence the amount that we would have to recover.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, I guess there are no more questions. Thank you very much. We'll now invite up Director Shoup with Planning and Community Development.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Quick update for the months of July and August. Starting off by looking forward, staff is working towards development of work plan for the plan review. And so I noticed Sophia had it in one of her bullets on her slide that Clean Foundation has offered to provide some support for that process as well, which is great. They're a good group to work with, of course. Second item to mention is that we're being a bit proactive in considering how we look at phase development. We know there's some larger developments that are on the cusp of coming forward to us, and we want to make sure that we have the language to properly protect and to see the town forward through those processes. And one of those applications appears on tonight's agenda as well. In terms of review, in the month of July, there were 9 development permits which were issued, and an equal 9 in the month of August, to a total combined construction value of just over $2.3 million. In terms of subdivision applications, we did have 1 tentative subdivision application in July from Bryson Developments at the south end of McDougall Heights, towards the end of Acadia. So staff is currently working on reviewing that application and working back and forth with the developer. Let me see what else. In terms of new planning applications, I alluded to the proposed changes to the land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw again, which will appear later on tonight's agenda. In terms of ongoing applications, we this evening we had the public hearing for 157 Main Street rezoning. We currently have in review the Vita Living Development Agreement, which is still in the process. The C3 zone, amendments to the C3 zone, that's currently with the province and being reviewed by the Provincial Director of Planning. C1 zone amendments, proposed amendments for amenity and parking requirements also had its public hearing tonight. The other the application of note would be the Bell Mobility Tower. The letter of non-concurrence was passed on, and we're waiting for an update from them basically to see where we go from there. On the community economic development side, Pumpkin People Festival is in full swing for preps, with October 4th to 26th being the posted dates for that festival. And lastly, the Visitor Information Center is supporting that work and will stay open till the end of October this year. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions for Director Shoup based on his report? Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions, Director Shoup. The plan review that's being done, when you talk about the phasing, phasing language, so is that something that we don't really have a lot of the phasing language in our current MPS and LUB?
Through the chair, that's correct. Staff have identified certain areas which are priority amendments, and that's what the first phase of which of the phased amendments language is coming forward tonight. There's some other aspects we may want to look at in the future, but these seem to be the priority ones that will have us better in line with managing those types of developments.
Okay. The only other question I had was with regards to the permits. The fees that folks pay to obtain those permits, is that a standard rate that we charge them? Is it off some grid? I was just wondering, because I know some of them are, the value of some of the constructions are quite substantial, and the fee is quite nominal. But maybe there's a grid that we go by.
I can't cite it right off the top of my head, but I can certainly get back to council with that
Okay.
question, that answer.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Director, for your report. I must admit, I'm going to play naive here, and I'm going to bite on something that maybe I should know, but I don't. You've mentioned twice tonight a plan review and a work plan for the plan review. Can you give me some insight onto what that's going to look like and what the timeline is? Because I'm not familiar what a work plan of a plan review is.
Sure. To the chair. Well, basically our work plan will lay out over the course of 2 or 3 years what the different phases of the review will consist of, which topics will be considered first in the sequence, the public process involved with that, how often we're going out to the public, what format we take it forward with, the various touchstones with council and PAC going forward as well. So the whole timeline for that process will work out as much as we can in advance, who our partners will be, and try to anticipate as much as we can going forward with that kind of a framework to
So is that something that you plan to present to council before Christmas, or is that a considerable timeline? Is that too
I
quick?
think before Christmas might be reasonable. We're looking at bringing in some major components of that, different strategic thoughts that would go behind it as well. So those would all help form part of that work plan.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Director. Now invite up Parks and Recreation Director, Director Langell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in front of you have the staff report for July and August of 2025. I just want to quickly highlight that our program and aquatic numbers this year were, in general, park use was significantly higher than or the same as it was in previous years. So we are still showing some growth in that area, which is great. And then I just kind of wanted to highlight with council where our direction is and focus is for the month of September coming up. So we're rolling out, or have rolled out, our fall programming, and registration is still continuing. We have Harvest Fest planning and pumpkin people, so that's the whole logistical part from getting the pumpkins up with Jerry and ensuring that people are having a great experience once October 4th hits. Our park staff have transitioned from our park spaces into our arena now. So staff are working towards making ice and having the facility open for September 27th. We still have baseball going on, so we have university ball now, so Acadia University will be on our fields. We have school ball, and then the senior baseball club is on the fields next weekend, or this coming weekend for playoffs against Sydney. We have some remaining capital to finish up. We have beautification up until October, and then we're trying to figure out our reopening plan for trails once the province releases those woods bans. We know that Miners March is probably going to be a hot area to hit up and clean up prior to opening without any maintenance for the past month. And then removing the barricades and everything else that we have with our park spaces. And then finally, Partnership Expo has been canceled for this year. We weren't able to get enough of the partners back to the table for an opportunity this month, but they'll be working for something in the spring of next year. And then we have Caribbean Fest, and then closing down our structures and assets. So we'll be starting that process for the pool, splash pad, our buildings that need to be winterized for the year. So that's kind of our month ahead, just to kind of give you a little bit more information. Any questions for my report or for this month?
Thank you very much, Director. I just want to say on behalf of council and everyone, we're very thankful that the pool was opened, and you know, we sat here, I think, in February, and we were all biting our nails, and it was opened, and it was well attended and well used this year. So thanks to you and your staff for making sure that that happened. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Director. Just a couple of questions. Do you have like comparisons from previous summer numbers to this summer numbers at the pool?
Yep. Do you mean for like public swim and
participation, like daily, like a daily total? Like,
yes,
we had so many people this year and so many people in the previous summer.
I have the numbers for public swim in particular, which is also in the report. I think it was we had upwards of 180 for our free public swim on Fridays, and our average across like our Century Swim and public swims averaged 117 or 115, and comparable to 70 of previous years. So a significant bump. A lot of those numbers are coming from the free public swim,
Right.
where we had upwards of 180 individuals.
Yeah, great. And how many closures, if any, did you have due to mechanical issues at the pool this year?
I'd like to report 0.
Great.
And also, we did not have to restart the pump once this year.
Great.
And we restarted the pump at least once or twice a day
Perfect.
last year.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your report, Director Langell. On your report, you mentioned the outreach booth. I'm just curious as to what feedback looks like, if you're going to do analysis on when we might see that. And second part of that question is, does that form part of the citizens or the residents survey that might come out shortly?
So to answer your first question, yes, the report to follow. Our neighborhood outreach program coordinator is bringing all that information together, has reached out to our department and others to find out any questions that they would like to be asked. So the idea is to bring this booth, have it up at events, and have an opportunity for citizens to come up and provide feedback to a question that we're asking. The idea for Parks and Recreation would be to have questions framed around our recreation master plan going forward. So to get a better idea of what people want to see in certain spaces, where they want to see development, anything along those lines.
Okay, so we might see an outreach booth at the farmers markets from here to the middle of October.
Correct,
and
yeah.
any other events of Caribbean Fest, or are those anything? Is that booth to be included in most town of Kentville planned activities now, or is that?
Yeah, depending on the capacity that we have and the questions that we have to ask, we also don't want to be offering it without a proper question to go with it. We want to make sure that we're targeting our questions to the needs of the town. So if there are questions that also that council is looking for, it's something that we could offer as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Director. We'll now invite up our Police Chief Smith.
Good evening, Alicia, CAO, Council, and Mayor. Hope everybody had a great summer break. Got to enjoy some of the nice weather. Here this evening to report on July. You'll notice our highlights and initiatives that was mentioned in my report. We had 2 members attend our Camp Courage in takes place in Halifax, Dartmouth area. And then we had members attend the Special Olympic Torch Run at the opening ceremonies in St. X. Patrol-wise, busy month, so I started doing comparisons from 25 to 24. I decided to look at June and July stats of 24 in comparison to June and July of 25. June and July 24, we had 607 calls for service, and then in June, July 25, we had 799. If my math is right, my wife's a math teacher, so they better be. 31.63% increase. A lot of those came under traffic offenses, provincial statutes, and assistance files. Members did a lot of checkpoints in the month of July, 54 checkpoints. It's a considerable amount for a small town. 3 impaired related charges and issued 27 offense tickets. Community engagement sergeant was pretty busy in the month of July. One of the things that we did initiate and put out was our community youth program, KPS youth program, which we received funding from the province. We're still accepting applications, so I put that out there again. It's still on our social media page. Anyone from the age of 12 to 18 you age out, but it's going to be based a lot like our auxiliary program. It's great for kids that have an interest in policing. Typically meet once to twice a month, and a lot of engagement with our members and learning and the public, and it'd be a great program. So that's been passed around to our local schools to get hopefully some more involvement. Our navigator was very busy in his full second month. Unfortunately, as of today, he's passed in a resignation that he's moving on to another position. One that is quite a jump for him, so it's he's enjoyed his time with KPS, but unfortunately this opportunity he couldn't turn down. So we do have some other candidates from the previous application process that we'll be looking into. Investigation sections, GIS was busy with 2 executed warrants, 11 active investigations. CIS&S was on training. SKU had most of the month off for summer vacation, but had 6 active investigations and 3 warrants were executed. And that's my report, if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief Smith. Just a couple questions I want to ask about the Crisis Navigator. I know we were the first to implement that a few years ago. How many units do you know have that position now?
How many in the province?
Yeah, do you know roughly?
So there's, under the police umbrella, none to my knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, there's none.
Okay. And just another question, I know this puts you on the spot right now. What would it look like if we didn't have that position and we had another officer on the complement, rather like just a regular? I have to ask that question. What would that look like, or what would that mean?
That is a loaded question.
It is a load, and you can come back later if you want.
Yeah, probably one that I would return to.
Okay.
Not to say that another member wouldn't be beneficial. As council is aware, this year we are in a 1-year agreement with a cadet. So the difference with the navigator position is sometimes they have an easier time building trust with the clientele that we're dealing with, so it can help bridge that gap a lot easier. Do I believe it's a town responsibility to pay for that? There's part of me that says no. It should be a provincial responsibility. But there has been a lot of positive impacts from that position since we've implemented it. Yeah. It's a tough question to answer on the spot.
I know, and I put you on the spot. I
That's
just
fine.
had to ask.
Yeah, used to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks very much for your report, Chief.
Yes.
Can you explain to me what Camp Courage is? Perhaps I've missed it, but I just don't know what it entails.
So it's, don't quote me on how long it's been, but I think it's the 11th or 12th year. A fire member from Halifax, she developed the program. It opens the door for members of marginalized communities that don't have the ability to, it's free basically. She raises $50,000 a year for female, they do policing, they do EHS, they do military, they do, the list goes on. It's a whole week, and at the end of the week they put on a scenario. There's a large majority of the people that attend this camp go on to then do first responder jobs. So it's really, really cool. It has a huge impact on the community, and it was something that I think it was 4 years ago. A member of the basketball team that I coached actually asked me to write a letter for her reference to apply, and that's how I learned about it. Okay. And I thought it would be great to be involved in it. So yeah, it's
cool.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
All right, before I go on, I neglected to wish Deputy Mayor Kroll a very happy birthday today. I meant to do that early on, so there's no cake, but happy birthday. We'll move on now. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Chief. I'm just wondering if we're permitted to know, but we have had, you say here, 6 municipal bylaw investigations.
Yes.
What type of investigations were those? Can we know what they were?
I don't have the list in front of me, Councillor, but
Okay.
a lot of them tend to be around unsightly premises.
Okay.
Is the most reported one that he deals with as far as investigations go.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
If you'd like, I can get you an affirmative response, but.
No, I'll take that
Okay.
response. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chief Smith.
Thank you.
We'll now invite up Engineering and Public Works, Director Bell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll start my report, I guess, or the highlights of my report with the Water Commission, as I often do. The only real update I wanted to provide Council was an update on the second phase of our multi-year water meter replacement program. We received 2 proposals that closed a week or so ago, and we expect to award the project to a firm this week. This is a project to replace our residential meters, as I've, I think, spoken to council in the past. We're working through a multi-year program. It's going to take at least another 5 years to complete the full replacement at the rate we're going. We're doing about 350 more meters this year. We did slightly more than that last year. On the north side of town this year, we're focusing on the older phases of Palmer, Glenwood, and McDougall Heights that have end-of-life meters that are the old touch read meters and difficult to read for our operators. So these will be radio reads and make once we are at least 80% complete with the radio reads, that will change drastically how we read. We'll read on true quarters as opposed to semi-annually like we do now, and estimate the other 2 quarters. And this year's phase is budgeted at $245,000 and came in just under budget. I'm going to skip over sanitary sewer service, as Director Matthew already spoke about our operating budget that we're going to present to council ideally later this month. And I'll skip ahead to projects. We have several on the go, as most of you are aware. The downtown AT project is underway. It's been going a little slow as of late, but we had a meeting with the contractors today. They'll be hand forming the curb on sort of the Royal Bank, Chisholm side of the road on Webster Street. That will take the rest of this week to get that formed ideally and poured. The curbing machine that they used on Aberdeen Street isn't available. They had subbed that out, but that's not going to, unfortunately, it looks like it won't be available for their use, so it will be hand formed, much like last year's contractor did on Aberdeen and on the south side of Webster Street. So they will remove, they have the old sidewalk removed now, as you're aware, and storm infrastructure completed, and we expect them to be complete by late September. Update on the grid project, which is the Main Street Storm Sidewalk and Paving Project. Construction was scheduled to start today, which it did. Today was sort of the kickoff meeting and mobilization, so they did some asphalt cutting and expect to be fully underway tomorrow. It will begin with a storm replacement, followed by curb rather, and then sidewalk installation. And once the sidewalk work is complete, which will take us probably well into mid-October, they will mill and repave that entire stretch of asphalt from one side to the other, much like they did on the east end of Main Street back in August, from Chester Avenue to Aberdeen Street. And then once the AT contractor is done on Webster Street, we'll also be sort of skipping ahead and doing that section of Webster full paving from the lights at Aberdeen and Webster to Bridge Street. That's all funded through the 50% provincial trunk paving project. Skip ahead to the Donald E. Hiltz connector road rather. That project is progressing well. The current focus is on water main installation at the west end and stormwater management components of the project, including the large box culverts and construction of stormwater management areas. Those are well underway and some are even completed, which will make a significant difference in the downstream runoff to those many water courses and flowage areas downstream. So during the hottest and driest months, or parts of August rather, the earthworks portion of the project was suspended, but has resumed on the far east end this month. A 4,000 gallon water tanker with the pump is kept near the construction activity to help reduce the risk if a spark did ignite a small fire. That's the main part of I guess I will touch on stormwater infrastructure maintenance. Ongoing in-house replacement of many of our catch basins is underway. We have a couple there on Park Street that are opposite one another. You probably noticed the cones. The reason we haven't done those yet, we're waiting for our new street sweeper, which was ordered last November, set to arrive tomorrow. In fact, so training for Public Works will happen tomorrow. So by Wednesday, we should be ready to have that new piece of gear on the road. That will be doing both street sweeping and the back excavating, which we need to do those catch basins. So the old machine has been parked for about 2, maybe 3 weeks now. It's another component broke and got to the point where it's not worth spending more money on. We will be selling it as surplus as is, and expect, like I said, to have the new one functioning this week. So it's good news. That project, like I said, was awarded, or that piece of equipment was awarded last year and funded through this year's capital investment program. And that's the highlights of my report.
Thank you, Director Bell. Just so, in case anyone's wondering, the investment in the water meters, it's not just for easier read, it's also accuracy as well. They're quite improved.
Yeah, those meters are end of life. It's accuracy as well, as you mentioned, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, as meters age, they continue to read less and less and less. So it's lost revenue potential for our utility. So we're focusing on the residential ones at the moment, but we have spent a fair bit of money in the past few years on larger ones at such places as the hospital and the businesses out in the business park. So those large ones pay for themselves, even though those meters are a few $1,000s a piece, they pay for themselves almost literally in half a year.
Yep.
With the increased revenue, which also translates to the sewer side, because we bill gallon in and gallon out. So makes a difference for the sewer area service as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Director. I notice under Traffic Authority that you've placed no parking signs in several areas. I know that some were placed on Oakdean Terrace. I'm wondering what other residential areas in town have received no parking signs?
We've done some on some of the smaller streets, especially the narrow streets that have issues with either parking on one side or parking too close to to intersections. Another one is up on Highland and Highland View. I'm trying to think where else, Councillor, but certainly Highland View is one, and another one on the west end of town. That one escapes me right now. Our other focus was on changing some parking stalls over by the Main Street station to facilitate barrier-free access to the King's Transit bus. So we removed a few parking spaces there, different than certainly than what you're asking. But the main areas for no parking were Oakdean Terrace and Highland View area. But I think there are some more. I can get that information for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Director Bell, for your report. Just in noticing, you were talking about some of the catch basins that have to be replaced. And it's probably still ongoing where some of those other catch basins are being cleared out. Some of them look like they're quite full. So I'm just wondering, is that something that's done sort of on a weekly or monthly, or just when time allows for it, or, because I know we have a lot.
We do have a lot of catch basins, and certainly having that new piece of equipment back in our fleet will make quite a difference.
Yes,
We clean those out typically with the street sweeper, which is also a vac excavator. It's a big vacuum essentially. So to get that piece of equipment to satisfy, or to basically replace our existing no longer usable gear was quite a wait. We've waited these last, I guess, 10 months plus to have that delivered and built really, and sort of custom built for our needs. And like I said, it's going to arrive tomorrow, and the guys will be trained tomorrow and likely out on it Wednesday morning.
Yeah, great.
With Smiley Travis waving to everybody when he drives it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Director Bell. You mentioned in the Hills Connector Road that they're doing some stormwater mitigation. Is that going to take the pressure off the Mitchell Brook flow, or the unknown courseway that goes down through there? Does that remove some of that erosion issue, or?
It certainly does, yes. There's 2 or 3 larger management areas built into the Hills project, and one is Mitchell Brook, and some other ones that either are not necessarily Condon. Condon sort of essentially picks up most of its catchment area north of the Hills Road, so there's really no opportunity to mitigate the Condon flowage at the Hills area as it really picks up its speed and volume and tributary area north of the Hills Road. But Mitchell Brook in particular is one that will make quite a difference with that stormwater management area and the erosion itself. These last big storms we've had the last 6 years or so had taken a lot of the material from the old service road itself and washed it down into the flow of Mitchell Brook itself, and caused, certainly caused issues even with blocking some areas. So a big difference will be seen by the pond and the area up there on the Hills Road.
When might be able to view that?
It's a good question. It's still a construction zone.
Yeah.
I've only been through it a couple times. It's passable with a pickup truck or similar, but I think it would be a good thing to see in a couple months. They're basically working west to east putting in the water main and the crossings, and there's no less than 7, maybe 8 of these box culverts, anywhere from, there's some of them are as big as 5 by 5. And the culverts themselves, even now, they're a box culvert rather than a round pipe, most of them. And the requirement by fisheries and environment is to have the bottom half of that box culvert filled with a special gradation of rock. That in itself helps with erosion and slowing the water course down, and then the top half is sort of the clear part of the culvert. So they're oversized, but yet they have restrictions in them to help with that. But most of those bigger ones have the retention areas on the south side of the Hilts Road. But would be a good show and tell project to go up there. But I'd say it's still at least a month and a half or 2 months away, as it's still a pretty active site with the.
I'd gladly do a ride along
Yeah,
next time
for
you go.
sure. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Mayor. You have maintenance of the catch basins there. Is there any other maintenance planned for any of the other waterways with the stormwater management? And is there any plans to go forward with that as well?
Well, there is certainly our even though I mentioned the purchase of our new piece of equipment, there is areas that it can't be used due to its reach and size. So we partner with New Minas, Berwick, and Port Williams to tender out mostly for our sanitary, but we certainly use that same contract for stormwater maintenance. So that just closed last week, and we're doing that review with New Minas and the other municipalities to award a contract for storm and sanitary cleaning. Again, we in the past usually focused on sanitary, some of our old mains that are known to be low grade lines that pick up some sand and things and don't flow as clear as others. Less so in subdivisions, more on our older downtown sewer mains. But we will utilize that contract with the awarded pumping company to work on some of the known issues that are too big for our street sweeper vac. This is a much larger vac truck that can reach 20 feet or more, where we can't. We have to be almost on top of the catch basin to clear it out. So that will be that's part of our maintenance program that we're continuing this fall.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Director.
Thanks.
And
Good evening.
all of the staff reports have been presented, and they'll be part of this meeting's record. I would thank staff for attending. We'll move on now to our recommendations. The first one, Director Matthews is going to present from Valley Waste Solid Resource Management.
Good evening again. You have before you a report regarding the Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management request for a debt guarantee. As I indicated in the backup to the staff report, you can see that there was a capital budget approved by council in the amount of $4,665,000 in the spring of 2025. The debenture portion of that was $1,465,000. Excuse me. The solid waste organization is now moving forward to make a request for that debt through the Department of Municipal Affairs and Finance. That going forward, we do need to make a guarantee for our portion of that. Our portion is estimated at 8.1% for this year. It may change a bit. It is based on our population and uniform assessment. So that is the number they are estimating at this time. That leaves our portion to be $118,603. And staff is recommending that council approve the attached guarantee resolution for Valley Region Solid Waste Resource Management related to the 2025 fiscal year in the amount of $118,603.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Director Matthews based on this report? There's none, so we have a recommendation that CAC recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council approve the guarantee resolution for Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management related to the 2025-26 fiscal year capital budget. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kroll and a seconder, Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion on that? So the recommendation is that council recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council approve the guarantee resolution for Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management related to the 2025-2026 fiscal year capital budget. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. Our next recommendation is from the Planning Department. Director Shoup will present that one.
Okay, good to go. Thank you very much, Your Worship. So this will be my last report for the night. As has been mentioned a few times tonight, we've been looking into different amendments we could make to the land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw, thinking forward to more phased developments. And these are some of the priority areas that staff have thought were important to have included or considered prior to the plan review being completed with that 2 to 3 year window. So sooner rather than later. So just in terms of an overview for the presentation, have a look at why the changes are needed now and what prompted the review. We had a public participation meeting, so some of the input from that would be included in this, and then looking at the specific proposals for the land use bylaw, specifically for the medium density R3 and high density R4 zone, minimum lot frontage requirements, also subdivision bylaw amendments regarding phase development, permanent cul-de-sac length and unit limits, temporary street configuration, and emergency access standards. And then sum up with the implications for development in terms of the benefits, challenges, and impacts. So current provisions of the land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw have outdated restrictive requirements which are silent in areas regarding to larger phase developments. Staff are bringing forward these timely amendments which will address those. They look at, there's some specific areas in terms of what the implications of this are in terms of housing constraints, where the current R3 and R4 frontage requirements may limit density and infill potential. There's also safety concerns related to some of these proposed amendments where there's no clear standards for cul-de-sac capacity in terms of the number of residential units on a given street, temporary turning areas, or emergency access for new and existing streets. Also, with regard to phase development, there's no language to consider connectivity, servicing capacity, safety, financial protections for the town. So this is what we're beginning to address with this initial set. In terms of the overall policy objective from the municipal planning strategy suggests that we want to look at ways to facilitate efficient growth and development of the town, and that's sort of the background of why these are coming up. A public participation meeting was held on August 21st when we summarized 3 key questions. Do the amendments reduce or extend cul-de-sac regulations? And this will make more sense as I get into the actual description of these, I guess, but both the maximum length and unit cap would now apply, which is ever stricter for that given cul-de-sac. Question of what if a property on an existing cul-de-sac is rezoned, and those same unit caps would still apply based on the proposed amendments, even with rezoning, and it would apply to accessory dwelling units as well. Those are factored into the total. Also, third point, who has access to emergency access gates? So that's one of the things where we're developing a protocol on how that would be handled between the emergency providers and town staff. So starting with the land use bylaw and proposed amendments to the R3 and R4 lot frontage. Sort of the 101 on this, why do we have lot frontages to begin with? There's 4 reasons there. The primary one that we're looking at is the effect they have on neighborhood design and character, so that they shape the rhythm of the street, so to speak, influencing the spacing between driveways and the overall streetscape. They also affect access and connectivity, emergency services, and infrastructure and servicing. So there's 4 different ways where lot frontage comes to play. Some of the rationale behind the proposed amendments, by reducing the frontage, we allow for more flexible design is one of the thoughts. Currently, for R3, medium density residential, it varies between 60 feet to 100 feet, and we're proposing bring it down to 50. And again, for R4, slightly different considerations, but it varies from 60 to 100 again. And for flag lots, we showed a little diagram here of what a flag lot looks like. That's where the greater portion of the lot is actually off the street. It would allow more efficient design, typically for new developments, but also there's some existing development potential in town on existing streets where this could come into play, and then enable some more practical use for these types of lots, potentially unlocking development on deeper or regular parcels. That's another piece where we have some topography in town that creates some interesting arrangements with our street network or proposed street network, and it may allow for this to be a more effective means of development. So with this proposed change, there are certain urban design benefits that are encompassed within it. That it encourages compact pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods is one of them. It aligns with housing goals as well, supporting more medium, high-density housing. There's also an aspect where it provides more infill flexibility, supporting infill development while ensuring safe access and adequate servicing. And fourth and not least is the financial flexibility option or access component. More for developers in this sense, where in addition to lowering direct land servicing costs, reducing frontage requirements provide developers with financing flexibility by lowering some of the upfront capital needs, improving loan viability, and enabling more flexible phasing and cash flow management. So switching to the subdivision bylaw, in particular looking at some cul-de-sac provisions. So some theory behind this too, in terms of having length requirements. What we're trying to do by imposing, we already have existing length requirements, but they consider both emergency access and egress to ensure that fire, ambulance, and police services can reach properly sufficiently and provide a safe secondary exit route for residents and responders in an emergency situation. There's also a traffic management component. We would want perhaps to try to limit the number of homes served by a single cul-de-sac to avoid congestion. Also, connectivity and walkability consideration, where we want to encourage neighborhoods to have layouts with multiple connections, reducing isolation and promoting active transportation. And finally, in terms of infrastructure efficiency, to manage the cost and maintenance of roads, snow clearing, and servicing by avoiding overly long cul-de-sacs. It's another factor. There's 2 different ways that we've looked at doing this. Currently, we have a distance-based measure. The current limits are measured in road length of 500 feet from the nearest intersection, and up to 750 feet with an emergency exit, which does not reflect on how many homes are served within that distance. So we're looking at creating a unit-based limit of between 40 and 80. We've suggested 60, which provides a clearer measure of population and service demand, aligning more closely with emergency response and infrastructure impacts. So as I just mentioned, when proposing a maximum of 60 dwelling units on a single access street, We do have some diagrams coming up too, which hopefully makes it a little bit easier to consider these different options. We're also counting all units, so it's principal dwellings plus secondary suites / ADUs. And we want to encourage connectivity within our community so that we have those secondary access routes built in. So the first of our new and wonderful diagrams is to illustrate what we currently have on the books for regulating cul-de-sac length. So you see we have a 500-foot cul-de-sac that's measured from, I just got myself caught in that one. I know it's from the center of radius to the intersection. I don't know if it's center of the intersection or not, but roughly there. So that's allowed right now without an emergency access, and we allow up to 750 with the emergency access, and that would connect to an existing street. So staff have come up with a set of options for this, where we would we're using the metric system. We switched back and forth here a couple times, but where the default maximum would be 100 meters, which is 328 feet, which is shorter than the current, allowing up to 150 or 492 feet, which is just short of the current, with a multi-use pathway connection to another street, and up to 200 meters, which is 656 feet, with an all-weather emergency connection to another street. And it would allow up to 60 units. So this is the breakdown of what we're proposing right now. We have a set of 3 ranges, and we permit longer cul-de-sacs with greater connectivity. So it's a incentive for potential developers to include those sorts of things if they want to extend the road or street. So this comes into play a couple different ways. We have legacy streets in town, or existing overextended streets is another way of saying it, which means a public street that has been previously constructed or approved with a length or dwelling unit count that exceeds the maximum standards established in this bylaw. So in our case, that would be a length standard because we don't have the unit standard at this time, and which does not provide a secondary access or full connectivity to the surrounding street network. So here are some examples. So these are the primary examples of the streets within town that we're calling legacy dead-end streets. It's probably a nicer way of putting that. Probably the most notable one is Prospect, and we have a map to show how this looks from the sky as well, where the current length is over a kilometer and serves 134 units. And I'll just show what that looks like rather than waiting. So Prospect, and I wish I could point to this, but it's the longest longest pink line on the board there. So that's one way of looking at it. So that's where it picks up a connection and gives an option for a secondary egress. When the Donald Hills connector road is completed, of course, that will give some relief to that. But based on that, it's nearly 1.4 kilometers long currently. It'd be preferable to break that up again in the future. So that's part of where we're looking at with the plan review, having a future road map that considers how these things should be connected through. Just point to another example, center map, the curve off of Cadia Drive is where McDougall Heights tentative subdivision plan is currently in. So we know that will be connecting to what will be a completed Donald Hills connector at some point. We don't know the date for that, but there's also opportunities for that to connect in with some of the streets on the just east of it. And I can't name them off the top of my head right now, but within the McDougall Heights area. So just wanted council and public to see those sorts of numbers. There's only 3 that would exceed our current unit count on there of 60. But again, when we're considering road connections going forward, greater connectivity for the town in this plan review, we should probably try to factor all this in at that point. And this is sort of leading the way with these proposals tonight, how we might want to think about that going forward. So there are implications to this. There's those future, those legacy streets would be capped at a maximum unit number of 60. We may want to consider thinking about different road classifications, how that might come into play. For example, blanking on the name, for Prospect, and Ben's here to help me with some of the things I forget. So this is it's an example of a collector road. So we may want to see a different way of conceiving a collector road and how many units may be on that, as its purpose is to collect traffic and should have a higher unit count on it, but due to the history of its development, it just hasn't happened that way. Again, Donald Hills will help with that, but just may want to consider how that's done in the future. So one of the implications for these is the numbers that would be over 60 units, we wouldn't permit an additional development on that road. So, and I'll talk in a minute about the sort of say necessary kind of a conflict between what a developer wants and what the town wants on these types of things, just to help frame it as well. So looking at phase developments, moving away from cul-de-sacs for a minute. So phase development is development of land in sequential stages under single subdivision or development concept where lots, roads, services, and other infrastructure are constructed in planned increments rather than all at once. So each phase is designed to function independently, ensuring connectivity and integration with future phases. So that hasn't happened in Kentville to any great extent. But we know with some of the larger R5 lots that are on both sides of the Donald Hills, that may be something that happens in the future. And we've seen a few examples where that may come into play. Council may remember last year when Kentville Crossing came forward from Bryson Developments, sort of scale that they're looking at and the length of some of those roads, and how we might want to think about how we protect safety, the integrity of the town in terms of making sure the development is completed properly, as well as hearing from the developer on how they want to develop their own land as well. So we're trying to introduce some of these phase development standards to support managed growth, to ensure that the subdivision are built in a logical, connected phases that align with our capacity from the infrastructure side and service delivery as well. To enhance connectivity, to prevent those types of isolated cul-de-sacs and encourage future street extensions to maintaining an integrated street network. Improvements to safety and resilience, requiring secondary emergency access or temporary turnarounds to meet fire protection standards and to reduce public safety risks. Lastly on this slide, to balance flexibility and accountability, to provide developers with phased approval options rather than while securing municipal interests in road completion and long-term community design. So that could be bonding as one example of how we make sure that people are held accountable for what they're proposing. So this slide, I mentioned it earlier, it speaks to, there's not, I wouldn't call them polar opposites, but there's different factors that need to be taken into account. So from a developer's point of view, they're looking to maximize unit counts on their developments, and they often seek to maximize lot yield within a cul-de-sac to improve project viability, reduce per unit costs, and to meet the kind of demands that they're seeing in the market. Then that we counter that with safety objectives, where we're perhaps lean towards lower unit counts when we're thinking of public safety and well-being. So with what we're proposing tonight, we're looking to achieve somewhat of a balance in there by both allowing higher unit counts where there is a secondary emergency access provided, and also maintaining lower thresholds where there's only one single point of access. So in that case, yes, the approach ensures flexibility for development while upholding sort of life safety standards and community resilience. So this is a different category, probably a third category at this point, where we're looking at amendments for subdivision phasing. So this would be a new development, like say phased in where we're showing 3 phases here, where the first street can be completed with 150 meters. To go to that second phase, they need to provide an emergency connection at that point if they want to extend to 300, and that'd be up to 120 units. And to go further than that, we'd have to look for full connectivity with an existing street to incorporate what we're looking to achieve here. This is a slight variation of the previous one, and it kind of incorporates the thought we had around the R3 and R4 lot frontage, where rather than a unit being created on that street, there's a driveway coming off at 50 meters width and can facilitate perhaps higher density development behind that where it's constrained. We're showing a blue line, which could be a ravine, it could be the river, it could be a slope, which probably wouldn't be blue, but that's our thought, is some sort of impediment for further connectivity to the bottom of the page. We're incorporating some language on emergency access and egress too, which kind of falls out out from what we've already proposed. When required for phase developments more than 60 units. So this is the sort of design standards that we're looking to impose, where it's a minimum width of 6 meters, the surface is of a certain quality. There's traffic restriction to prevent traffic, but to allow for emergency situations, and that we have it properly documented and an easements provided in favor of the town as well. So these temporary turning areas are required for phase subdivisions, and where I showed the 3 parts above at that bulb, it could be either a hammerhead design or a half hammerhead design, which we're showing here on the next slide. And again, they must remain unobstructed, and there'd be a time limit before we look to having it removed and extended. It would be 2-year time limit unless otherwise approved. And these are examples of some of the schematics that we'd be looking at. We still have to finalize these, but just gives you a sense of what temporary turnaround looks like. It doesn't have to be a bulb as we showed earlier, just as an example. And almost over. We're looking to bring in some new definitions too that help us do what we need to do for phase developments, including an all-weather emergency connection, defining what existing overextended streets are, defining temporary turnaround, and also what a permanent cul-de-sac would be. So all those kind of help support the direction above. So in terms of the implications for development, what we're trying to achieve overall with these proposed amendments is to facilitate different design options in the R3 and R4 zones in terms of frontage, to use better use of land and infrastructure in terms of efficiency, also considering public safety, having stronger safeguards for evacuation and emergency access, and last, process clarity by having clear measurable standards to reduce uncertainty both for developers and for the town. Here's where we are on the timeline, and happy to finish my presentation there.
Thank you, Director Soup. I want to clarify something because I didn't think of prospect. So if things were as they are now, and Donald Hill say is not usable yet, it's at capacity now, then I guess if this was in effect now, nobody would be able to develop at the upper end right now?
That's correct.
Okay. So unless we classify the roads, because that's where I think is going to be tricky. There is still usable land up there, and I wouldn't want to turn anybody away from.
I agree. We were having a lot of discussions on this over the last week or so, and it's one of those things where if you pull at one thread, the rest of the garment kind of goes with you. So we're trying to simplify it as much as we could for tonight, but certainly when it comes to looking at different road classifications and how that may affect development on them, yeah, we're quite willing to look at how that could be configured to make it make sense that way. Because you're right, it does. There is a lot of developable land up there, and but again, we're trying to play both sides of this and.
For sure, and it may not, it may be that there's a piece of land and it may not just be a single residential. Somebody may want to put up 20 or 30 units, right? So I mean, you have to kind of factor in that if it's at cap now, you're going to lose that development. Okay, I'll open the floor to any questions. Councillor Andrew.
Thank you again, because this was really thorough and answered most questions. But I just to reiterate something I think we asked you in a closed session, perhaps that like this is bringing us more in line with what's happening out there in other municipalities, right?
Yeah, I would say yes. There's larger developments that I know of off the top of my head, like in East Hanson, Windsor, where they're looking at phased developments, and we don't have a good way of managing that right now from our documents. So, and that, I mean, that's the base of change was slow and development was slow leading up to a certain time period, probably around COVID, and then it changed again. So it's a matter of making sure that our documents are speaking to the times.
And even though, if I may, that I understand this, it's a long and in-depth presentation, and we've got more road to cover in this, but it's really about putting forward a Kentville focus, Kentville centric vision for the future and for development, and it's not. Because sometimes when we do these things, it comes across as though we're just trying to be more restrictive, but that actually isn't the case. It's really about trying to steer things in the direction that fits with the vision of the town.
I would say that's what we're aiming at. That we want to be. Again, we're playing at different ends of that spectrum where we want to ensure safety, public safety at all times. We also want to make sure that we're open for development, and that developers that are prospecting for places to invest know that Kentville is on the map. So that's basically what we're looking at.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your last presentation. I kind of pick up where my fellow councillor pointed out that there are areas that could be developed, but the other side of me hears what you say about safety, and it tells me that Prospect is overdeveloped in that it can't meet our existing safety requirements for people who live there now. So I think that we would be wise to walk this through thoroughly and effectively, but consider the people who are there now and their needs, maybe a little bit ahead of developing new interests. And thank you for that.
And this probably isn't a question for now, though, but if somebody had developable land up there and this, hypothetically, we didn't make it easy for them, I'm sure they could pursue other avenues to make that land developable if they wanted to, right? I'm sure they could. Not that we want anyone to fight, but I'm sure there'd be some situation there where, if I had 5 acres up there and all of a sudden the town said, we're not gonna let you develop it. But I'm sure we'll work through that, like you said, and make it.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
That's the value of the potentially the next step for this, for bringing this to the public forum, or for a public hearing, and making sure that we hear from the developers and landowners in town as well. Again, we did have an opportunity with a public participation meeting, but again, there's one more chance, and I'm presuming a bit here, but when and if we go to that next step, there's an opportunity for developers to come forward.
For sure. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to sort of reiterate what the mayor said, it definitely is a balance around the safety piece, but allowing those folks up there to still be able to develop those lands, I think, will be an important piece. So, yeah, I just hope folks will speak up and maybe we can amend that part somewhat. I don't know what that looks like but yeah, I just echo that concern. So, thank you.
Okay, I guess there's no more questions. We have a recommendation here. The recommendation is that CAC recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council give first reading to the staff-led amendments to the land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw respecting phase development, cul-de-sac standards, and medium-density R3, R4 frontage requirements, and direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. Councillor Savage and a seconder. Councillor Andrew, any discussion? So the recommendation is that CAC recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council give first reading to the staff-led amendments to the land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw respecting phase developments, cul-de-sac standards, and medium-density R3, R4 frontage requirements, and direct staff to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you very much, Director Shoup. We now have Policy 100, which is council and committees of council. I guess I'll give a little recap unless the CEO wants to. Do you want to speak? There are presently up to 7 different policies in place that relate to the establishment or operation of council and committees of council with the town of Kentville. Some of these policies contain provisions which are contrary to the others, and staff have reviewed the policies and are recommending that one new policy be brought forward to replace the 6 policies that more detail the terms of reference, and more details will be provided for terms of reference for each board or committee. So the recommendation is that CAC recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council. You know, before I put that recommendation, are there any questions, I guess, from council regarding this draft policy? I'll open the floor first there. Councillor Maxwell. Oh, so just hold on a second.
There's just one correction.
Okay.
5B.
Yeah.
5B says elected officials and members, and elected officials and should come out.
Okay.
5B is meant to be members appointed to the committee, and then the C is the elected officials is the next one.
Okay.
That's just editing of the
Okay. All right. Councillor Maxwell.
Well, thank you. There are just a couple of things. The one was under the structure where councillors would serve for 2 years and then rotate to another committee. I'm cautionary about that because I think councillors come with skill sets. And for example, I'll use myself as an example. I would not be a good person to sit on any financial committees because my math skills are, you know, I don't trust them and I don't have faith in them. Whereas the deputy mayor has skills in that area and so would be a much better person than myself to sit on that type of committee. So I'm just, I'm hesitant to restricting councillors to just 2 years on committee during their four-year term, because my fear would be that we would be losing some skills that people were elected with. So that's just one thing I wanted to put out there. And with regards to the bursary committee, the deputy clerk to prepare minutes and reports just adds another person to that meeting. I think the chair should be able to do the report on that, because there would only be one report basically, and that would be who is recipient of a bursary. 2 councillors, again, I'm hesitant about that if they're both attending the meeting, because that would create a tie situation where you have 2 councillors and 2 public sitting on that committee. So I think 1 councillor and maybe a designated alternate. So should something happen to that councillor, then they could discuss with the second as a designated alternate to run that meeting. And under confidentiality, when you're talking about bursaries and scholarships, the confidentiality actually occurs during the meeting or in the meeting. via discussions of applicants and their backgrounds and things like that. So I would not open such a meeting to the public, but rather I would treat it as an in-camera situation. And that's it for my comments.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll preface this by saying, and I see Councillor Maxwell sort of went into the committees, the terms of references for committees. So would that be a separate, because I do have some comments around the terms of reference for some of the committees, but I also have some comments around policy 100. I'm just not sure which one we're.
Well, the terms of reference we're gonna do in the next motion, so.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we'll
So
stick to policy
Yep,
100,
so- no,
that's okay.
I just wasn't sure, I
Sorry,
just was
yeah.
clarifying that, that's okay.
Yeah.
So, under the policy 100, under 5C, I will echo what Councillor Maxwell said about shall be required to rotate between committees every 2 years so that no elected official serves on the same committee for more. I don't agree with that. In section D, or 5D, it says about no employee shall be appointed as a voting member of any committee, but may attend as a staff resource subject to approval of the CAO. So I was curious as to why we would require the approval of the CAO, but rather not the chair, and then the chair would then seek direction from the CAO. But that's just a comment around that. 6, appointment of the chairperson and the vice chair. That's to be with the nominating committee. I wasn't in agreement with that. I didn't agree that the nominating committee should select the chairs, but rather the committees should select the chairs. Section 9, where you talk about regular meetings of council and CAC commencing at 4 p.m. So right now they're commencing at 6. I'm sort of looking at something in between there at 5 p.m. It allows members of the public to attend the meetings, presumably if their workday is over by 5 p.m. And so it's an in-between there. That's all I had with respect to, I shouldn't say that's all I had, yeah, that's what I had with respect to policy 100.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
I guess I am on. Thank you, Your Worship. I concur with Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Savage on their comments on Clause 5C. I look at it that it's in the best interest of the town to put the most experienced people with the knowledge on certain committees. And therefore, I wouldn't support that clause as it's written now. I think that the 2-year term should be struck. I also am concerned about the makeup of the nominating committee. There's not a lot of detail, I don't think, that I saw about the makeup of the nominating committee. I'm wondering if it's just adding a level of red tape that, I mean, the council typically picks its committees at the first meeting. So I'm wondering if that's just something that may not be needed. So those are my comments on Policy 100. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew.
Well, I'm definitely in favor of injecting consistency into governance within our respective committees. Sometimes there's unique practices, and I think that becomes more problematic with the heightened rules around code of conduct, for example. It feels sometimes like we're tiptoeing a little bit more. So having consistency will make it easier for a member of a committee, whether a councillor or otherwise, to make sure they're not in a place where they put themselves at risk by way of reputation or otherwise. The only thing I'll say about 5C is just to try to look at a contrary perspective. I guess I'm inclined to agree, because I would be intimidated in some spaces. However, I've had some pretty good experiences being thrown into the lion's den, and been in some places where I didn't know, and I think, and I can think of a couple committees right now, I might even be intimidated, but it would push me in a place where I'd have to learn, where I'd have to ask a lot of questions. And maybe as a result, bring a perspective that isn't present within a certain committee right now. So that's just a kind of another way of maybe looking at it. And if I may, I'm just, I did actually inquire about this, and just to put it out there, I did inquire of the CAO, and there will be planning. I think it's okay to say this. There are plans to have training that will happen periodically, and because there are some heightened kind of rules or guidelines around all of our work we do, and I found comfort in that, knowing that there will be periodically for anyone who's going to be a committee member, because it becomes a little more daunting if you know peering eyes are looking for where one of us might trip up, to know that there's going to be adequate training for anyone, citizen or council member. So those are my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 5C, about elected officials switching every 2 years. The first year, you're just learning. The second year, you're just getting comfortable. And then to switch. I might suggest an alternative is that where a councillor feels inappropriately matched with a committee, that they offer their name for resignation from that committee and reshuffling if possible. But yeah, I'm just getting comfortable with my committees right now, and we're just headed into year 2. As our deputy mayor said, the nominating committee, point 6, seems to be needing some more definition as to who sits on the nominating committee. We submitted our willingness to sit on various committees, and then subsequently, I believe the mayor and CAO chose what those committees might look like with some input from staff. So I don't know how that would be different, because it really hasn't been laid out.
No, and just for clarity, we recommend it. Yeah, you guys make the decision at the end of the day, so I don't choose. I come in with a recommendation, and then council has to vote on those appointments. But carry on, thank you.
Okay, well, it felt different, but thank you. Point 8, I'm wondering whether a 2-week advertisement period is a quick turnaround. Thinking that it might be beneficial to widen the window, depending on what interest levels are in the various positions. And point 9, as I think other councillors have pointed out, I was elected knowing that this was a 6 o'clock meeting, and ran on knowing this was a 6 o'clock meeting. It would be difficult for me to accommodate changes to that, as indicated by my late attendance to earlier meetings today. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
So everybody's covered a lot here. There's a lot of work that's went into these, and it's nice to see some of it streamlined. About 5C, I think it was, with the 2-year, I'll just touch on that. I think it really depends on the committees. There are some good things when you have somebody that comes new on those committees. There's some fresh ideas there, and it prevents, councillors from being on those committees over and over and stalling. If you have some fresh ideas, and it opens things up and for different questions. I do have, and I think it's on the councillor to say where they're absolutely not comfortable being on those committees. My only concern is with when you have multi-year projects, sometimes you can, if you're 2 years into a project and it's going to leave it open, so I don't know about that. I did have questions about the nominating committee as well, and whether that would be, a little bit more red tape. And that is it. I think everybody else covered all my other questions.
You're good?
If I find any more, we can
chime in. All
forward
right,
them
we'll give you one
later?
more call. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take an opportunity and chime in. I looked at this a couple of times, and I look at the 2-year thing, and I understand that, some of you feel comfortable in certain areas, but when you look at the flip side of it, I have to look at a different perspective. We were all elected to make decisions on everything in town, not just on finance or not just on certain committees. You have to grow comfortable in all of those avenues. So when you do kind of marry one type of committee for 2 years or 4 years, or the whole term, you're not really taking the opportunity to learn the other. When you think about it, you have to kind of put that in perspective too. So there is a flip side to that. Because some of us have been on the same committees for 6 years, 8 years, 12 years, and we don't take that opportunity to learn anything else, but we're still expected to come back and vote on those recommendations from those committees, because we still have to vote. We're still the rubber stamp to everything. So I'm seeing the other side to that. And as well as Councillor Andrew mentioned, there is going to be training, and there should be, and there should have been, to kind of help. So you can learn a lot. I know I've been on different committees that I necessarily didn't think I had any interest in, and then you get on them and you do get interested. And again, there's always an opportunity if you are struggling. As Councillor Baker said, that's always, and it is in here, in fact, the nominating committee can recommend. The nominating committee, though, in fact, is just another committee that's going to recommend to council again. So council still has to make every decision. It's not, whatever the nominating committee looks like, they're not making the decision, they're making recommendations. I kind of like having that because we had a situation for many years where staff was coming back with citizen appointment recommendations. And while I'm sure they did a thorough look into these people, I think it's better if there is a nominating committee doing that and that the applicants are there and they're reviewed, and then it comes back to council. So I don't have a problem with those two things. The only thing I would add that is not here, which has always been here, the mayor should be ex officio on those committees. That was always in the policy before, and it should remain. But the other things, I guess, I will ask the CAO, what do you need from us, or what would you recommend we do right now? What's your...
Just some clarity, if I may,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. So the 5C,
Sorry, just pull your mic.
Oh.
For the record. Yeah, there you go.
sorry, okay,
All good?
we're good,
You're good
okay.
to go.
So 5C, there is some discrepancy, and so the question is there a majority to change that, take it out, or leave it in?
For the 2-year appointments?
Sure.
So I guess we'll go around the room and see what the majority says. Councillor Savage? Okay. Councillor Andrew?
I would keep it in.
Deputy Mayor Kroll? Councillor Baker? Councillor Hamilton?
To be determined by committees.
You're on the spot. You gotta... Councillor Maxwell? And I'm gonna say in, because I thought about it, but the majority says out, so. Okay.
So we will remove that.
All right.
The second one was about the nominating committee, and so the proposal is that there be a committee of council. That terms of reference would have to be developed if council supported that position. Of probably, say, 3 members of council versus the current process where members of council let the mayor know, and the mayor probably consults with a couple other members of council, has an ad hoc nominating committee, and brings forward the same recommendations. It just should not be staff bringing forward any
Correct.
recommendations. It should be elected officials making those recommendations. So the question is, do you want a separate appointed committee, or do you want the mayor to do that?
As we did before.
Independent as you currently do.
Either way, it's still gonna come back here for council's ratification.
Mayor, and, maybe consultation with a few other councillors, I think, and then bring something to the rest of council. That's my thought.
Councillor Savage?
Look,
I guess the
yeah.
clarity is, would you like to see a nominating committee set up of 3 or 4 members of this council? Or do you want it to come to the mayor and then it'll come back as recommendations, as it did in the past? And then council will still have the opportunity to...
So the mayor presumably in consultation with the CAO, as was done in the past, not with the
No,
CAO?
the idea is to not use staff to do
Right,
that
yeah.
portion of it
So the
anymore.
mayor in consultation with whom? That then.
Well, then we'd have a nominating committee, that's the whole,
Right?
that's the thing.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what you're, and the nominating committee is elected by council? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
And then we'd set up terms of reference for that, and so
Yeah.
it could be 3 people. It'll be us, but it'll be,
Yeah.
we don't know what the number is yet.
I think I'm fine with that.
Okay,
With
so
that.
nominating committee, yes.
In that
Coun-
case, I'd like 5C back.
Well, you could, then we'd have the majority, right? Counselor Andrew?
Yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Kroll?
Just for a bit of clarity, because I'm a little confused now. This is a nominating committee that would nominate council members to be on committees and citizen appointees, or just citizen appointees?
Both.
Both, okay. If it's 3 members of council, I'll agree.
Okay. So that's another yes. Counselor Baker? Yeah, sorry? It'd be for council appointments and citizen appointments, both. The nominating committee will bring those recommendations.
If it's 3 members of council, yeah.
Gotcha, yes.
And there would be at least 3, yeah. Counselor Baker?
And point of clarification,
Mm-hmm.
the nominating committee is not nominating the chair or vice chair of each committee, though.
Well, that says
That's
that in
done-
there too.
Yeah, that would, no, I can't support that. I would like to see the chairmanship come from the committee itself.
Let's do that part in a second.
Second, okay.
I know they're together, but we're
Yeah.
gonna dissect those and.
Okay.
So you're, for the nominating committee portion, you're
Yes.
Counselor Hamilton?
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell?
Yes.
And I say yes, we're good on that. Gonna go around now and ask about the appointment of a chair and vice chair from the nominating committee.
Gosh, we're leading.
Counselor
Rob is
Savage?
leading with me. Yeah, I think that the chair should be elected through the committee.
Counselor Andrew?
Well, I had kind of a third way that came to mind, but I would I'll go with that if there's only 2 options. My thought was that if, in the event a committee was being initiated, or you had a new council, it almost made sense at that point that you would have, that committee would start with an appointed chair. But I would, in the absence of that third option, I would be inclined to go with yes. Sorry for the.
It's okay.
answer.
Council, deputy, oh,
Yes
to the,
or sorry, no, I would prefer the decision is made within the
committee?
committee once it's established, yes.
Deputy Mayor Kroll?
I think that the chair should be established from the committee.
Counselor Baker? Counselor Hamilton?
Committee?
Counselor Maxwell?
When we discussed training, would the chairs be trained as to how to run a meeting?
Yes, all members need to be trained in how to conduct themselves in a meeting, whether you're the chair, the vice chair, or a regular member.
So I'll say yes then.
And I would say yes. I think the nominating committee should take on full force to that part of it. Did you want to change your 5C?
No.
Well, we don't have a motion. You're just giving it's not really, we're not voting. It's just, there's no official vote. We're just looking for feedback so we can go back and work on this for another 18
I
hours.
would appreciate that the nominating committee maybe changes at whatever cycle that this council deems appropriate, every year or every 2 years. It seems to be a special mandate that sees the will of council, but if it's always the same people nominating, then it won't reflect the will of council, it will reflect the will of those 3 people.
The nominating committee changed as well, is what it would be.
Just the nominating committee
guess.
would change frequently, you don't have to redo 5C.
But you still don't want the 2-year terms in there.
No, 5C is out as far as I'm concerned, but as far as the nominating committee is concerned.
I don't think you can do that because that's another committee. You're kind of cherry picking now which ones are going to have
But
2-year
it
terms.
sets the mandate, it sets the agenda for all the other committees. So if that mandate committee is always the same 3 people for an extended term, then that mandate stays the same.
Yeah, but that recommendation still comes to these 7 people too, right?
Is that not
So-
is that not the same logic for keeping the same people on the same committees for the same
Yeah, that's what I
period
said.
forever?
Yeah, I can't have it both ways, can I?
No.
No. Okay, I'm happy with 5C.
All right. Counselor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So in terms of the nominating committee, that nominating committee would consist of, I'm assuming it's the mayor plus 3. And that nominating committee, and I'm sure it would come out in the terms of reference, but would change yearly, biannual, that would be part of the terms of reference.
Based on the discussion earlier,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it would stay fixed for the 4 years. Because we just took out 5C.
C. It's another committee like any other committee,
Right,
so it's
right,
hard
right.
to,
Yep, that makes, yeah, that's fine, sure.
Okay, any other clarity?
At the time of the meeting.
Okay, so I'm gonna go around the room and see what your comfort level, I know you all expressed, some of you did, but what your comfort level is with a little earlier. Counselor Savage, you had said 5. Are you still?
Yeah, I would be comfortable with 5. I think that allows public to attend and the workday's over, or presumably.
Counselor Andrew?
I like the idea of even earlier. I think for the most part, well,
7
I'm not
a.m.
a night person either, but I think part of it is, if our reports come earlier, I think generally that's not the area where the public's looking to engage. A lot of that can be read if they wish, but it's not at that point that the public wants to. A lot of times when people come from the public, they find the meetings quite painful because they have to endure all of that stuff. And so I would go more towards earlier, but I'm happy with however it works out for everyone.
So you're saying you are okay with 4 if you?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Deputy Mayor Kroll?
I'm okay with, I'm not on. I'm
Oops.
okay.
Okay, you got me.
With the 4 PM or 5 PM. I mean, my time is fairly flexible, so, but I, like Councillor Andrew, would prefer earlier in the day, and I mean like 1 PM.
I'll be here at 7.
I can make it.
Counselor Baker?
I guess I could do 5.
Counselor Hamilton?
5.
Counselor Maxwell?
Well, I'm like Deputy Mayor, my time is pretty flexible. I could go earlier. However, I do believe, to be fair, when people are elected, thinking that meetings are at a certain time, that probably shouldn't change too much. So I think at the end of term, we should revisit. And if we want to make a change there, then that should be done prior to an election, so people know when they're running for office that this is the time that meetings are being held. So I'm good with 5 if everybody else is good with 5. Great.
Okay, and I'm good with anywhere from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., so. Any other clarity?
Just the last one, Mr. Chairman, was you asked to add mayor as ex officio of all
Yes.
committees where you're not a appointed member?
Yep. So I'll go around. Just for clarity, as I said earlier, that was always in the policy before, that the mayor could attend any meeting as ex officio. So I will poll the room again. Counselor Savage.
You're always starting with me.
You want me, I'll start on the other
No,
side.
I'm joking.
Let me, no, I'm gonna be fair. Counselor Baker.
I feel the pressure as Councillor Savage is being put on the spot. I think it's important that the mayor be available on an as-needed basis, but it's a big demand to have the mayor attend every meeting, and that's why having the mayor as ex officio allows that flexibility. Ex officio meaning not a voting member or meaning a voting?
No, you're a voting member. You have the ability to go. I think it might have, I don't know if it was ever utilized last term ever, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Come back to me.
Counselor Hamilton.
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell.
Yeah, I think it's important because if there are pressing issues, controversial issues coming up from a committee, that I think that the mayor should be able to come into that committee and should be able to vote on whatever it is that is coming forward.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Yes, I think the mayor should sit ex officio on all committees.
Counselor Andrew.
I don't know why the mayor would want to do that to himself, but, no, I think it makes sense, particularly because, there are issues that come up that are of utmost importance, and because, we have some committees that represent, intermunicipal partnerships, and that can be a really important, time for the mayor to step in.
Okay, Councillor Savage.
Yeah, I would agree. I think back to my days of, still in Rotary, but when I was president and I was ex officio on committees, and I attended most of them. And sometimes it's a lot, and I think you wouldn't have any problem with attending a lot of meetings, but can't just be germane to you. But I think it's important to have that say and ability on those committees.
Okay. And Councillor Baker.
I agree.
Okay. So you have any other questions, or so we'll leave that with you then, and just,
We'll make those.
I didn't put the motion on the floor, so I'll just leave it with you and we'll revisit.
We'll make the changes and bring
All
it
right,
forward to
at
council.
the end of the month.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the terms of reference. So similar to what we mentioned before, that there are several policies and a bylaw respecting various town committees, some of which conflict with each other, and all of which provide little guidance or direction to committee structure and operations. Therefore, with little structure, committees can sometimes undertake functions which were not meant to be within the committee's realm of roles and responsibilities. So to clarify the roles, standardized process for committee operations, and to update responsibilities and functions in a more robust and meaningful way, staff have drafted a new set of proposed terms of reference for various committees. Some committees meet rarely, and the staffing function and responsibilities are similar, so these committees have been combined where deemed appropriate. So before I put that on the floor, are there any questions? Yes, Councillor.
I just wondered if
Maxwell.
CAO got my points that I made there under student bursary. If I need to repeat them.
You do not. So
Okay.
the bursary, which is, if you turn to the bursary committee one, ad hoc, the membership is 2 elected representatives and 2 public, so that's a change. Right now it's 1 council and 2 public, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's just to provide more opportunities for members of council to participate. The other questions around confidentiality, it's not legal to have a meeting in private, according to the MGA, for such a topic, so it must be done in public.
Okay.
What about voting with the identical numbers, 2 and 2?
It's similar to now, so today, if there was only 6 members of council present, then you could have a 3-3 vote. Or somebody had a conflict of interest, you could still have a 3-3 vote. I would hope with like a committee like a bursary, it'd be unanimous, I would hope. I would hope there wouldn't be that
That's
type of
division.
division of that committee.
Any other questions, or your?
Well, my experience
all
is going through the list and looking at the different applicants, that when we go around and discuss, we could have a tie, and then we'd have to go around and discuss again. So that's just my concern. But, it's fine, I guess.
With the mayor as an ex officio member, would that help?
I'll get to you in a minute. All right, I'm going to go in sequence. Councillors?
I
All right,
understand.
okay. Councillor Savage.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Okay, I'm going to start with finance and audit. So I have just a few points down. Who usually chairs audit and finance? It's usually the mayor. But I have down there Director of Corporate Services, question mark. But my thought is I'd like to see that committee remain with the mayor as chair. Under the authority section, it's mentioned a minimum of 1 person who is not a member of council, but under the quorum requirements, you note 2 elected reps and 2 public reps. So I think that there's a bit of a contradiction there unless I just read it wrong. And under the confidentiality section, I would assume that the confidentiality section would apply to the management letter, because I feel like that's the piece that if there's something confidential that can't be shared with public, it's usually contained in that letter. That's all I have for that committee.
Okay, do you want me to
you want me to keep going?
Go ahead, no, go
Oh,
ahead.
Just
okay,
respond to
yep.
those.
Yeah.
So I think we just talked about the nominating, the committee would pick their chairperson?
Oh, and that would apply, of course, yes, that would apply to
Yeah.
okay.
And
yeah.
so that's the quandary we have, is
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
trying
no,
to.
I'm, okay then, yeah, okay, yep,
We wanted the committee to pick their chairperson.
okay.
The second one was.
We want the nominating committee to pick the chairperson.
To recommend, right?
To recommend, but was that added in or taken out?
No,
We kept that in.
sorry, I thought it was the,
We kept that in, okay.
We
so
kept that in,
Committee's
yeah.
recommending, okay.
The committee picks them or not?
Committee was supposed to pick the chair.
that's with my understanding, and I think that's what you were saying when you said committee, but they may have misconstrued it as the nominating committee.
The individual committee.
Yeah.
Would pick the chair.
Yes,
Right. That's what we have.
Now I'm confused. 'cause-
yeah, I think you are. I mean, I'm sorry.
So-
I don't mean like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I mean,
Who's picking the chairperson? What did we agree?
my understanding was it was the committee,
The individual.
the individual committees, not the nom committee.
Right, which is what my initial statement was, Councillor Savage, was that you decide, you indicated you want the mayor to be the chairperson.
Yeah.
But we just decided the committee picks the chairperson.
Right. So then, yes, okay.
So we'd be contradicting what we just agreed to.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the committee will pick, and if the committee wants the mayor to be the chairperson.
Perfect.
The committee can pick the mayor
yeah,
to be the chairperson.
okay,
Okay.
good. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You have any other?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, so the other,
The other piece.
let's
Yeah.
go through the other two.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
other two were
Authority.
authority. So the authority, so the one person of the public is right in the Municipal Government Act. So you must have at least one member of the public on your committee. That
Yeah.
simply states that.
Okay,
So there must be at least one member of the public.
right,
And under the voting or whatever it was, you talked about
under quorum.
Under quorum, what just says is because the committee is 3 public and 3 council?
No, it must be at least 2 elected reps and 2 public reps.
Yeah, but the membership is 3 and 3.
Okay.
So I didn't want to set it up where you could have 3 members of the public
Okay, gotcha.
could go to a meeting.
Yeah.
And only 2 members of council, and you could, or 1 member of council, and they could make decisions.
Okay, I
You want to make
understand.
sure there's at least 2 public and 2 council to make
Yeah.
sure there's a balance quorum for decisions, so it's not swayed one way or the other.
Gotcha, okay.
Or reverse, where there's.
Or reverse,
Council
yeah.
members all show up and the public don't, and we make decisions without the public there,
Okay,
okay? Or the public members. That was the third one? That was the third one, yeah.
yeah, and confidentiality.
And confidentiality applies to all of it. So management letters typically aren't confidential. It depends on the nature of what's contained within it. And there may be other parts of the audit committee which may contain financial things that could be gleaned during the meeting, or talked about during the meeting. So it's generic. It's not specific to one function.
Not just germane to the management letter.
No.
Because it could be your, if there's an issue and you need to.
Could be an issue
Yeah.
with, could be an issue when you go in camera without any staff present, where you're talking about staff.
Understand,
Could be an
yeah.
issue with the auditor.
Right.
Where you want to go in and talk,
So that wouldn't necessarily be, okay, yep, that's perfect.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm.
And that same clause is in every terms of reference you'll see here.
Yes,
The
yeah,
same clause.
yeah, yep. The investment committee, I had a few comments around that. One of the comments was around the income that comes from the investment funds, and council having say in that, which presumably they do now because the interest in the dividends go into the operating fund, so that would just stay as it is, presumably, and.
That's law, though.
That's law.
That's the bill.
Right, so that's why that's when there was a comment around, I'm trying to find it here.
Which section?
Investment fund is part unless scope, role of the chairperson, role of the investment advisor. Yes, income arising from the investment of a fund is part of that fund unless the council otherwise provides. So maybe I just need clarity
Where are you
around
reading that at?
That's under authority, and that is.
Oh, so that's right out of the legislation. That's right out of the MGA.
Okay,
So that's what the law says.
But does Bill 20 supersede that? Because Bill 20 actually says that the income, interest and dividends from that fund must be removed and placed in the town operating fund.
Yeah.
That's
Why that piece confused me a
Yes.
little bit. That's just looking for clarity around that.
But you have a separate legislation, yeah.
Yes.
So that's the other part of this, the Town of Kentville Electric Commission sale of assets,
Yes, that's Bill
Yeah.
20.
Bill
Yeah.
20, yep.
Yeah.
So then also under, and this is just a question, the pledged assets, can we, under the agreement with Bill 20, pledge that those assets for any lending? I didn't know that we could.
Where are you reading that?
Oh my gosh, let me see, pledged assets. It must.
Oh, you're in the same thing. The council may pledge any
yeah,
investments
yeah,
to the credit
yeah.
of the capital reserve funds, yeah.
Funds as
And so
collateral
that's the
security
same
for
thing.
borrowing.
You'd have to look at both legislation and
Okay.
determine which one applied in that particular situation.
Yes, yeah, for sure. So maybe that can be better reflected.
Well, it's just, that's what the legislation says. I can't change that?
No, but,
Or description.
yes, yes. Like, I know that it's mentioned there. Yeah, and understand, CAO, that you can't change the legislative piece, like under the authority 100. And I should have realized that where it states that, but I'm asking maybe for a little bit more reference to Bill 20 around those 2 points. But I'm the only one that's saying this, so maybe, no, that's you too.
Bill,
And then there's the role of the chair ensures performance is reviewed annually. It's monthly now, I think it should stay monthly. I'm not 100% understanding why it would report to the audit committee. I can see where there would be a dotted line. The director of finance sits on that committee. And around the confidential piece, yes, our minutes and details are all opened, but for the purposes of the public, we do present a more simplified report rather than all the trades that are done, et cetera, et cetera. Those are my comments around the investment committee. I just have 2 more very quick things. Board of Police Commissioners, I'm just going to make the comment, and you've seen the letter or the email that came from the chair of the board. That one, I presumably will just move forward with this, but when we have our Board of Police Commissioners meeting on the 18th, there are some comments that came forward from the chief and and the rest of the committee, and we'll talk about those a bit more on the 18th, and then if that's the wish, that I will bring them forward for the council meeting at the end of the month. And lastly, I'm not in agreement with the combination or the consolidation of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. I know that we have the kayak committee now, and then we have the diversity and equity, and I'd like to see those remain as 2 separate ones. And that's it for me.
Okay. Councillor Baker.
I'm just going to pick up where my colleague left off. Being a member of the Inclusion and Accessibility Advisory Committee and being nominated to the Equity and Belonging Committee, this is brand new to me. So I'd like to learn the rationalization behind it, just to hear out the point of view that created this, because I appreciate a lot of work and thought that's gone into this. Just to support that, an idea coordinator, is that a new staff person? And does this now fall under Parks and Rec?
So work backwards, it's been under Parks and Rec now.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
Oh,
because
okay.
the staff members that attend are Parks and Rec staff.
Okay, thank you.
The second question was around the idea coordinator. That would be an appointment, not an additional staff member. That would be an employee would have their job title changed, or that would be part of their current job function, would be to oversee this committee. And the reason for it is many of the functions are similar. Much of the work is similar in nature. They work together very closely. It was one committee to start with. They asked to divide. It's been divided. The Equity and Belonging Committee hasn't met yet, but they've already had discussions around working together on policies. So they're already working together, talking about working together. So it's a very similar committee, similar functions. And if we look around the province, most of the committees are one committee, they're an idea type committee around the province. So it's not unique, it's not different. The other part of this is staff capacity. We have multiple people on each of these committees, or multiple staff, and we just don't have the staff capacity to continue having multiple staff. And that's why many of these committees are combined. You'll see there's a couple of water committees combined, the planning and heritage is combined. We don't have the staff capacity to continue to do a good job at managing all these committees and doing the work of the committees and the expectations from the public and the public members on these committees with limited staff. We have many, many committees, and more than what we saw here today in these few. There's other committees as well we need to work through. But if we want to do good work on these committees, we need to somehow be more efficient. And this is my recommendation for a way to be more efficient.
Any other questions?
Thank you for that, I appreciate it, I'm gonna percolate.
You're good? Okay. Councillor Andrew.
Found that one a little bit surprising too, and then had some discussion subsequent to that, to learning that. And I guess one of the things that could be thought of as an advantage for people who may not be comfortable with that is that only one of those committees is mandated by the province. And so to kind of wrap them up, there could potentially be advantages in that, because one of them is, one of them did come about as per instruction from the province. The other didn't, and we have other committees, and that's one of the, even as I read through these, it was hard in some places to determine, without knowing all the history, what of the things that we're doing now, and which of the committees actually are the result of what we have to do, versus things we think we want to do. And those things that we want to do that are extra things, and I think I gathered in reading that it was surprising, because it seemed like news, but then the rationale being that perhaps we can do a better job by doing it. So I think there's a case either way. But it was, yeah, and I understand it's come to us as a recommendation, not and nothing more. So.
Councillor Hamilton.
So putting those committees together, the equity, belonging, and the accessibility. With accessibility, the mandate coming forward, I'm just wondering how there's going to be time. There's so much that needs to be done on that accessibility, and I'm worried about there being too much work when you combine them together. Do you want me to just say all the questions first, and then you can go? And the other the other committees that are missing from that list is like the Remo committee and the Kings Point to Point. Are those just dropped off now?
Well, those aren't our committees.
Or are we gonna work them
Those aren't our
forward?
committees. We're on those committees, but we don't create the terms of reference for those, right?
Okay, so this is just
these
our
are ours,
committees.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I understand that.
Yep.
So take that question back then. I understand now why those were missing.
We have enough.
Yep, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my only question, is my concern with the accessibility in 2030.
If I may,
Yes,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chairman, so we have two committees now. One hasn't met, the other's met sporadically. And so we need to be more, I guess my recommendation, we need to be more efficient. We need to get our heads together and work together and find some solutions and make some actions. And so far we've got plans in place, but we haven't had a lot of action. We've been struggling, and I think we need to find a solution that gets us past the plans into action, which includes 2030. And 2030 is a date, but we should be there for some of our stuff before 2030, and then a lot of it's going to come after 2030. And it's going to be very expensive, but it's money we have to spend. It's important work we have to do. I'm just trying to get us to a place where we can get the work done and have good quality input from the residents, those with a lived experience, sitting at the table making the recommendations for us to finalize things and make decisions on. Right now, we're not making a lot of progress there, and so my hope is that this is just a path forward. It's uncomfortable right now, I think, But I think it's the right path to get us to where we need to go to help our community.
CEO, what the committee that hasn't met yet, was that due to staff capacity or what's the reason? Yeah, do you have the answer to that or?
Not sure, but the Equity and
Okay.
Belonging Committee, people
Right.
were appointed back in.
I think April, was it? Ish? March or April, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know the answer to that? You want, if you want to, if you.
I don't know the answer, so.
Staff were aware of these potential changes and wanted to see what would be recommended in terms of reference before bringing a committee together in
Okay.
case that was subject to change.
Okay. And just to be clear, the component of this new combined committee is going to remain the same number of people and I believe.
This recommends up to 10 members of the public.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what was on the accessibility or.
I think, yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I think there's probably 5 on each one, maybe-ish, members of public, I think. Anyway, we'd have to go back and confirm that. Councillor Baker.
Just to carry on what you said, Mr. Mayor, I think it's important that the folks that have put their names forward and who want to be involved in these still have that opportunity. The more people that we have from marginalized communities, the more people that we have from equity-deserving communities that can be represented at voices in developing Kentville's direction, the better. So I think that's the only consolation in here so far is that and I appreciate the need for efficiency and not overtasking our staff. But the only consolation right now is that the same folks are involved. It just may make it more arduous in trying to get a committee together. Because as you can imagine, 10 conflicting schedules can be difficult to coordinate.
Thank you. What, any clarity?
Just if council wishes to leave them the way they are, we can go back, staff can go back and create the 2 terms of reference for each of them if you wish to do that.
I'm going to just chime in because I haven't spoken yet. I appreciate both of those committees, and I was in support of the one that was launched in March or April. I know it hasn't met, but there's some great people on there. I do want to speak, though, that we are at a capacity staff level here is an issue, and people don't always understand that. But when a staff person has to go for a couple of hours, it may seem like it's not a lot, but a lot doesn't get done here too. And I'm just going to throw this out there, and I know people may not like this, but what if they were tried to be combined and you kept the same people on it? So if there's 12 or 11, that way you're not reducing, and all those same people are still involved. I'm just looking for a happy medium there that can maybe make everybody happy, and again help us with our issues here at Town Hall, because you know we went through a year here where we didn't have to raise taxes, and I mean you add another person in, all those little things add up, and I'm just gonna throw that into the mix of the conversation. But I'll go around and I'll get I'm gonna start with you, Councillor Savage. What your thoughts are?
I would agree with you, Mayor, that if we can have the folks that if we can have the folks that were on each of those committees, understanding what the CAO is talking about in terms of the staff complement that we have here now, and in terms of being more efficient. To Councillor Baker's point, I just want to see the work continue from all levels, and the folks that are on those respective committees now stay there.
Thank
Happy
you.
medium, as you
Okay.
said.
Councillor Andrew.
Well, I guess that's my thought too, if there is such thing as a happy medium, is that everyone, you know, it sounds like that's the wishes of everyone, you know, that the people who expressed an interest and were chosen to be part of that still can be part of it. I think that ultimately we don't want anyone excluded who want to be part of the solutions, right? So.
Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with the policy as written by the CAO, but I would like to have the members that sit on the committee, citizen members that sit on the committee, be on the committee, the new committee.
Councillor Baker.
I think what might have, actually, I would support keeping the two committees separate for the time being, providing that we have training sessions for each committee and they recognize the town's position, because ultimately it comes back to us making the decision. I get it. But I think in this case, we have involved a number of people that have put their hearts and souls and personal histories into belonging to those committees. So what I fear might happen is that if we get together for a training session of 10 or 11, 12 people, you're going to have people vote with their feet as to whether that committee is going to work or not. So I would suggest that we take a step back from this particular policy, allow the two committees to meet, hear out the benefits of cooperation and allowing them to vote as to where they see the direction of what their heart and souls have told them that they want to do for this town. I honestly want to refer this back to committee.
Okay, Councillor Hamilton.
I think that they should remain two separate committees.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell.
I'm going to refrain from making any comments at this time.
Okay, I would say to combine them, just because I know the stress that we're under here with staff, and if that doesn't work in X amount of time, we can always revisit. Nothing is forever, right? So I would support combining them for now and see where that goes. Any other clarification you need? So we'll leave that with you then? Okay. We now have, did you have something you want to say? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm just to dovetail on what Councillor Baker said. It's just the staff complement piece is, and I'm trying to be aware of that as well and respectful of that as well. But it would be interesting to see the two committees and sort of what their thoughts are and in terms of working together. And is it considerable staff that's used amongst each one? Yeah.
One hasn't met yet, but the other one, yes.
Yes, I knew, yeah, one hadn't met. But.
Yes, and it's more than just staffing capacity, it's the committee capacity and the projects they want to undertake.
Yeah.
Budget priorities, working towards the same or similar goals as an organization, and different committees having different priorities.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
I think the hard part there is that I know most of those people and they're all dedicated and really good people, so. We're going to move on now to traffic calming report. There is a report in your package about traffic calming. I don't know if you want to speak anything to that, CAO, or?
Just there was a request. I don't see it.
Should be in your. Yeah. It's there. So what I can summarize it if you want me to.
I don't see it in mine, so.
Okay. On SharePoint, or it should be in there.
Oh, it's on SharePoint, but it wasn't in the full package.
So how this new, I'm gonna.
Sure.
You want
I
to
don't have
chime
it, so
in?
you go ahead.
Go ahead. From what I understood from it, but I didn't write it. So from what I understood, if you live in an area and you feel that there's a traffic issue and people are not safely driving, and you would come to the traffic authority and you would request a traffic study of sorts, and we would then have to locate the equipment to do this traffic study, and if there are more than 500 cars per day on this stretch, am I correct? Then we come back to council, obviously, for a vote, and the traffic authority would make a recommendation, which would be Director Bell. He'd make a recommendation whether it would be a speed bump or a speed hump. If he felt that it needed one, or a speed cushion, and all the different costs were listed there, anywhere from $1,500 to $8,000. If you are the applicant requesting that, and it's approved, it goes in front of your property. So you may live in, just an example, you live on a street and it may start up there, that person would have to request it. You can't request an area that's not in front of your property. So that's kind of where that's at with the details on it, and I guess my only trepidation with that was I guess anybody can request one and then having to, because we don't have traffic counts probably at most of our streets, so there'd be a cost incurred each time somebody brought one forward, so. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I won't have the answer, so Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. So I'm looking at this and saying there is a cost to this, quite obviously. And then I'm thinking when I was on the police commission and in the areas where I live, and there are a number of streets in this town where speeding takes place. And if we're going to do it on one street, then I think we do it on every street and not on certain Kentville streets. I think that, you know, if speeding is an issue in this one street, then we've got to look at all the complaints that we've had about speeding on all the other streets in town. So Chester Avenue, Belcher Street, Bonavista subdivision has issues. The McDougall Heights has issues. Every street in town, a lot of streets in town have issues with speeding. So if we want to get into, you know, into something like this, it's going to cost a lot of dollars, and we have a police presence for a reason. We pay lots for our police service, and I think that, you know, people need to go there first, and I think, no.
And to your point, that's, you know.
It's got to go everywhere, not just one place.
And it's citizen-driven each time, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
So coming from Mill Run, I know there's a lot of complaints in the neighborhood for traffic calming. But from what you're saying, 500 cars a day, that's not how many cars are going down through Mill Run. Ultimately, in Mill Run, the reason that everybody wants to have traffic calming is for the safety of the children that are playing around the block. And we are just trying to prevent an unfortunate event. And that's the basic of it. So that's why it was asked for something to be done for that. And other than that, I get that it's expensive, but.
It's not necessarily just the expense too, but I'm gonna give you an example where most of you know where I live, and Councillor Baker knows, I live right after that really bad curve, as you know. And that's a death trap for anybody with children, because a lot of people come in from the car dealerships testing cars, and we live up a couple feet from there, but I don't let my kids play on the road. I mean, you'll probably hear me out there yelling, get off the road. So it's everywhere, and I understand there's been one or two people in Mill Run that have reached out to me. I'm just saying, if you put this in place, you're setting yourself up, as Councillor Maxwell said, for the whole town. So, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Excuse me, thank you, Your Worship. I wonder if there's any documented collision history in the town on side streets. I don't know of any. I know there's lots of complaints, or there have been complaints, but I'm wondering if we could look at less costly measures, children at play signs, paint slow down on the pavement or something like that, that can just remind people that they're on a side street or on a neighborhood street and they need to be careful. So I would support less costly measures, but I don't think I could support this policy.
And to that point too, we've had people killed at crosswalks, right? So
yes.
It's unfortunately, there's some, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that Councillor Hamilton had brought this forward. I had brought it forward. I think a lot of us are hearing from folks, different residents all around Kentville about traffic calming. It's a topic that we hear a lot about. The high traffic area, the traffic count undertaken average daily of 500, in excess of 500. I'm just wondering where that came from, presumably another like policy?
Not another like policy, but that's a similar number that Department of Transportation or Transportation or Department of Public Works, whatever they're called now, the province, they use that for their secondary, their subdivision streets for similar type proposals.
Right, yeah. I do support traffic calming for sure. I think it's really important. It's a tough one to know where to do them, and I know that we're talking about high traffic areas, but there are other areas where people probably would like to see them that don't have in excess of 500 cars a day. I'm not sure how to approach that. I'm really not. So by virtue of this, residents would have to come back and request it individually, and it would come before council. Yeah. I support it. Maybe with some tweaking, but I do support it.
Councillor Baker.
I like it. For me, I think if we put a budget item in, similar to if we're gonna pave a certain number of roads every year, we do the same thing with traffic calming across the town. To me, my child or your grandchild is not worth $1,500, it's worth a whole lot more. So I think this is a good start, and I think we're behind the ball on this, because every community I travel in has traffic calming, and Kentville is not leading the way in this respect. So I think this is long overdue.
Any other comments? Oh, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
How does this affect emergency vehicles, for example, who are traveling on the streets, you know, or the snow plows or whatever, if it's a traffic hump or a traffic bump or whatever? What does that do to either the vehicle or to the traffic hump?
Both, I think, get impacted. The bump gets damaged from the snowplows, I would presume, over time.
I can't comment on emergency vehicles, but for us, just the plow operators would have to be more careful and then have to apply more salt in those areas. That shouldn't be a consideration, though. If you wish to have traffic calming in, you put it in and we work around it and put more salt down, and we slow down when we do those streets for plowing.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yeah, I care about kids too. I mean, that's a given. But when we look at subdivisions, speeding in subdivisions, except maybe Bonavista with the car dealerships, if somebody's speeding in your subdivision, it's probably somebody living in your subdivision. And people should have an idea who's speeding in their subdivisions. And rather than us spending multiple dollars and things like that, again, we have a police service, a community police service for a reason. People shouldn't be afraid to reach out to our community police and give the name. This teenager's driving like crazy up and down the streets in our subdivision. And I think that something like that is going to be more effective than us spending, a ton of dollars on speed bumps for one or two people in a subdivision area. And so, if anything, I agree with Deputy Mayor. Let's get a few signs that say, children playing, slow down, and, or putting something on the pavement that says, slow down. But I suspect that the person that's speeding is going to continue speeding right over top of speed bumps. And, so I can't support this because I think that the cost outweighs what we're already trying to do with our police service, which is a cost.
Councillor Hamilton.
So just to follow up with what you're saying, I know in Mill Run, the children playing sign has went up. It's been up for many years. The police service has been to the places where the vehicles are speeding down, and it's also, DoorDash, those people that are coming into the subdivision. Unfortunately, it's the hill down into there that, people are going at a high rate of speed. So other than that, that's why everybody in there has asked for more traffic calming. So it's everybody.
And you know what, though, just to clarify, this draft policy is not going to correct that problem because there wouldn't be 500 cars in there. And the issue that I have is not the cost of the speed bump. It's the constant cost you're going to pay to have studies done that are going to come back and say there's only 100 cars that went through there a day. So this isn't going to rectify Bonavista or Mill Run or any of these areas. So to me, this is not a solution for those areas. If anything, I would support a little more money on signage or, you know, we have some of those speed art things that we've used in the past, you know, something like that I could fully support, but I don't see the advantage of this, because we're gonna get a request, we're gonna pay to have a study done, and then it's gonna come back, most likely, not always, gonna come back and say, well, there's only 300 cars, or if that, and then the traffic authority is gonna say, well, this doesn't warrant a recommendation, so I don't think this is a solution to that. I understand there's a problem there, and I support finding a solution to it, but I don't think this is it. Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think this will be my last time speaking
Yeah.
on this. So, yeah, I would agree with you that this particular the outline that we have right now doesn't necessarily rectify the problem. Maybe having more of these telling people how fast they're going, and perhaps this was done by staff, I'm not sure, but I know when we were looking at the noise bylaw, we looked at other communities, other municipalities and towns to see what they were doing. And maybe that could be done and brought back. And maybe it was done, I'm not sure, I don't know. To see what they're doing for traffic.
Councillor Andrew.
I think I recall this discussion being, or this question being asked many, many years ago, but is it that we don't have the jurisdiction to have like radar, like the photo radar system? I'm not sure if that was a jurisdictional thing. I mean, that's probably pricey too, but I guess, you know, to me, those are a great idea, and people just get a ticket mailed to their house, and, you know, good luck going to court on that. The other thing is, and maybe this is just from, you know, there's yes, police are there, but there's a kind of self-policing, and maybe this is just my age showing, and the fact that I grew up in North Kentville. But if somebody was buzzing down the road and making it difficult for us to get our hockey nets out of the road in time when I was a kid, I guarantee someone in the neighborhood, one of the parents or somebody in the neighborhood would be, and you can be polite about it, right? And we all have that ability as citizens, just to be polite and say, hey, I'm just really concerned, and would you mind? And if someone can't handle that, well then, I don't know, then you have to call police. But I just throw that out there, that police don't need to be the first call. I mean, I live in a neighborhood, and people have done things, and I've done things, and sometimes just a yell over the fence can solve a lot, and just a kind of cordial conversation. Anyway, that's my thought.
Yeah, and I have a neighbor who throws footballs at them when they go by really fast, so nice. Great guy. He is a great guy. So I guess we've gone around this and we beat it to death. I guess I would look for consensus to send it back to staff and see what other units do, and then go from there, if that works for everybody, rather than put this motion on the floor. We're going around, so you guys are all, this side's all in agreement, and this side's, all right. So I'm not even gonna put that, you're good? Any comments?
Just to clarify.
Yes.
So if other people do it, we're gonna come back and do it?
No, to come back with information on what they do, and then we will, yeah,
Yeah, I just don't wanna
spend a lot of time on it.
send staff doing all kinds of research and come back and have the exact same solution, even though we know
Well,
we
then
get the.
then come back and say, there's no other solution.
No, but if we do the research and it comes back and says, well, nobody's doing anything, are we then gonna say, okay, well, we wanna do something? Or if people aren't doing anything, do we wanna do something, or do we wanna?
That's when you take the vote.
Or no vote, if they're not doing anything, there'll be no vote.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move on now to item 7G, council support local leadership for climate adoption. And do you wanna speak to this? All right.
All right, folks, speaking to you from over here tonight. But this report on the Green Municipal Fund Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation, or to say it shortly, LLCA grant. Similar to what you've seen with previous grants in the last year or so, a lot more applications look for a motion of council before submission, so that when staff go to submit, we include a motion of council that yes, council is aware of this grant and they'd like staff to apply. So this is one of those cases where we're looking for support from council tonight to submit a grant application to the Green Municipal Fund's Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation, LLCA, to support the next phase of the recommendations in Area 4 of the Stormwater Management Master Plan. And that area was selected because this grant requires a connection to tidal influence, and that's the only area of the Stormwater Management Master Plan that has tidal influence with the tidal river. So that was the only area that was eligible. If there's any questions around prioritization, this area we also submitted a grant in the spring of 2025 through the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund to support the same work, which is essentially taking the recommendations that have been provided by Dylan and bringing it to that next step of what does it look like for construction design and implementation. And there are some questions from staff that we hope are reviewed within this process. The recommendations within Dylan really look at the berm extension, and there is concerns from a staff perspective on the lack of land that we do own there and how close buildings are to the waterway in that area, and if what's recommended through a berm could work, and if not, what are other options available to still meet the recommendations that are there. So with both funds applications, the idea is that we would stack funding, therefore reducing the amount of cost on from the town directly. So at the stage, staff are looking for the approval to apply. We would update you if funds are received, but for SCF, for example, was submitted in April. We don't expect to hear from that by the end of the year, if not into the new year. This one we would hear about probably in the spring. So ideally, we would know going into next fiscal budget if both grants are to be expected and have a good idea of what the cost incurred would be on the town to complete the design and construction ready work, so that which is required to then get the construction funding to build the work. So that's the overview. Happy to provide any questions, and there is a screenshot there within the second page of the report of Area 4 that we are discussing.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. Any questions? Are you putting your light on?
No,
Oh, okay. No questions? All right. So the recommendation is that CAC recommended the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council. The council approved the submission of a funding application to the 2026-2027 Green Municipal Fund, Local Leaders in Climate Adaptation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kroll and a seconder, Councillor Maxwell. Any discussion on that? I'll give you those in a minute. So there's no discussion. The recommendation is that CAC recommend to the September 29th meeting of council. Council approve the submission of a funding application to the 2026-2027 Green Municipal Fund, Local Leaders in Climate Adaptation, LLCA. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. Deputy Mayor Kroll and Councillor Maxwell. You got her? Yeah. All right. So the last one is another submission. So this is for, I guess, phase 2 of the Growth Renewal Infrastructure Development Grid. Do you want to speak to that too? You'll be the one writing it, probably, right? So.
Just briefly to speak to that, similar to what was explained before, the province would like to see a motion of council prior to the submission of the grant, just to show commitment towards the work and towards the project. And for context, within the second page of this report, you can see a diagram there that highlights current grid phase 1, which is the work that Director Bell spoke to earlier this evening that's commencing this week, with the stormwater, water pipe replacement, as well as sidewalk there. And if folks from the community are asking questions to council as to why this work is happening when it's external to the stormwater management report, this work was allocated before the report had been requested and moved forward with due to the end-of-life pipes and the age of the catch basins, which is why we're moving forward with that. So phase 1 is commencing this week, and phase 2, phase 1 is, however, just on what would be considered the south side of the street, whereas in phase 2, there's opportunity to do both sides of the streets. The pipes only lay on the south side, but the funding also includes opportunity to upgrade sidewalk infrastructure. So in this area, we were able to include both sides of the street. So that's what we would move forward with. We did submit to grid phase 1 for 2025, which we were successful in, and within that grant, we did inform the province that we would be coming back again for phase 2. So they are aware that there is a secondary phase to this project, and this one would be submitted at the beginning of October. And this one did have a much quicker turnaround time compared to other grants. If I remember correctly, we had heard back from the province, I believe it was almost February, March. So it is a faster turnaround time, which is great in terms of planning and project planning going into the next year. So we are here if you have any questions.
Any questions based on that? No, I guess you're good. I thought you were pushing a button. You're not. Okay. That's great news, by the way, so I'm excited. Hopefully we'll be successful for that. So the recommendation is that CAC recommended the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council approve the submission of funding application to the 2026-2027 Provincial Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program, GRID. Moved by, who's going to move that? Councillor Baker and Councillor Hamilton as a seconder. Any discussion on that? Yeah, Councillor Andrew.
I just wanted to say one thing. I was pleased that they wanted to hear from council before an application was made. And not to pick on any particular issue, but I know that I've seen disappointment when staff works on a thing and it first hasn't, and I think it's moving forward. That's just kind of a little pet peeve or a little desire even that I have, is that we would have areas where we're investing potentially, even if we're going to be receiving some of that those things come before council, and then we know we're all on the same team and same page, and I think it works out really well, and this is very exciting. So thank you for your work on this.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded that the CAC recommend to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of council that council approve the submission of a funding application to the 2026-2027 Provincial Growth and Renewal for Infrastructure Development Program, GRID. And voting is now open. Voting is now closed, and the motion is carried. I like seeing my name backwards up there on the top two lines, right? Somebody changed the order of those. So, yeah, it's different. So that's the end of the recommendations. We have correspondence this evening. There's two pieces there regarding the police commission, and then, or rather, somebody from the police commission sent a letter, and then there's a letter there as well regarding the dental association. We'll now open the floor to public comments. We'll invite members of the public to come up. You will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come up, just state your name and speak away.
My name is Nicole Ross. I'm the chair of the Inclusion, Access, and Advisory Committee. Came tonight to discuss the combining of the two committees. I will say thank you for the idea of combining them. I understand it is to streamline it, and the efforts are to keep them separate. I think I might have some answers or some information to some of the questions and things that had come up while you guys were talking. I was also a member of the Diversity and Belonging Task Force team, where we had started to work on an anti-racism policy for the town of Kentville. These committees are both very separate, so the task team was based under the kayak committee, and then we petitioned and brought it to council to be voted on to become its own committee, which was very important to the committee and the town. At this point, I would like to say thank you to the councillors who do see the value in having the committee separate and supporting those. The Accessibility Committee focuses on barriers for people with disability and often requires knowledge of legislature, infrastructure, and accessibility. The Diversity Committee would focus on much broader things, representation of equity, representation, and race, gender, culture, and other areas. If it's merged, there is a risk that both or either of these could be overshadowed by the other. And that is very worrisome for both committees. Another thing I wanted to speak on was also, you guys were wondering why the Diversity and Committee hadn't met yet. And I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was because the terms of reference were being looked at, and I do believe the CAO may have suggested that the Diversity Committee not meet until this was voted on the end of September. I also, and again, I'm not privileged to a lot of things, but currently there is a staff kind of for each committee as it is right now. So there's one of each, so I'm not sure how that would go forward, but again, from the outside looking in, it does look like there is capacity. We appreciate the efforts to streamline things, but there's such different needs that I don't feel that it would be both represented well. I would also just like to say that both groups already face underrepresentation. Having dedicated committees ensures the voices are not only heard, but prioritized. Combining them may unintentionally diminish that. I will say, without, I think, jeopardizing the confidentiality of the Diversity and Belonging Task Force team, sitting around that table, there were members from marginalized communities who have history and past with authority and with institutions and such, and express their concern by becoming part of even at that task team and thinking it was a waste of their time, that their voices weren't being heard. So I feel it's very disheartening to see that is exactly its history repeating itself. No, you're not having your own committee. Yes, just combine them. They do the same work. It's the same type of thing.
I can give you 15 seconds.
Okay, great.
There's other people that want to talk,
So I'm just going to say symbolism matters. Two committees send a strong message that accessibility and diversity are equally important pillars of the town. Neither should be reduced to subtopics of the other or think that they are the same.
Thanks, Nicole.
Hi, good evening to everyone. My name is Rachel Creaser, and I'm a concerned citizen of our town, and I also am a teacher in our town. I'm here today to speak against the amalgamation of the Inclusion and Accessory Advisory Committee and the Equity and Belonging Committee. Mixing the Accessibility Committee and the Equity and Belonging Committee is a mistake for many reasons. It is a perfect example of how austerity can hijack the idea of intersectionality to save money on the bottom line. It is a mistake because it dilutes the focus of both committees. It undercuts the unique experience and expertise of people with disabilities from our town and undercuts the experience and expertise of historically and systemically oppressed people of our town. Now, of course, there is intersectionality, but combining the groups can lead to a less effective approach to tackling the interconnected barriers faced by racialized people with disabilities. It doesn't help to make it better for people that have intersectionality, it actually makes it worse. While intersectionality is crucial, these two complex issues require their own dedicated focused committees to ensure comprehensive strategies are developed for each distinct challenge that members of each committee face. Accessibility issues and racism are distinct and complex areas with their own specific requirements and laws. Combining them can lead to a committee that struggles to effectively address the unique challenges of both. People with disabilities are not a monolithic group. They are diverse and include individuals of all races and backgrounds. An integrated committee might not adequately represent the diverse experience of disabled people, particularly those with intersecting identities. Effective accessibility work requires specialized knowledge of disability rights, accommodations, and legislative compliance. Similarly, anti-racism and equity work demands specific knowledge of systemic racism, its historical roots, and effective strategies to dismantle it. Instead of combining committees, the town should focus on fostering collaboration between the separate committees. This allows each committee to focus on its distinct mandate while also building strong connections to address how disability and race are intersected. The town should be analyzing data by both race and disability to reveal intersecting barriers, which can inform the strategies of each committee. The focus of the town should be to ensure committees have diverse representation from individuals with lived experience related to disability and race to gain a comprehensive understanding of various perspectives. As a citizen who felt very hopeful for our town when the Accessibility Committee was formed, and then moved very much so again when the Equity and Belonging Committee was formed, I must say that I would be deeply saddened and concerned by the amalgamation of the two committees. Frankly, we need more committees devoted to equity-owed groups, not less. If I had the right to make recommendations, all of you would have to sit as non-voting members on the Accessibility Committee and the Belonging Committee, and then you would have to take that knowledge and expertise and back to the other committees you're on, because equity, accessibility, inclusion is an important perspective of all the committees, whether it's water, police, whatever other committee, we need this lens. And that if you want real revolutionary change, that's what you need to do. I don't care what other towns are doing, if they call it IDEA or some other cool name for it, to have one group taking all of the others together and having the default being white, male, able-bodied, heterosexual, cisgender, whatever, that is very problematic to people that aren't part of that group. Please take more of my tax money to get the funds for this staff or whatever you need. Taxes not being raised is not an austerity measure I want when it is clear there are needs for our citizens that are not being met. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you desire to continue moving forward instead of taking steps back. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
So, my name is Kate Zauser. I live at 26 Mount Vincent Drive in McDougall Heights. I am the current vice chair for the Kentville Access and Inclusion Committee, and I'm also here tonight to speak against the amalgamation of these two committees. I have earlier today sent an email to both the Accessibility Directorate and the Office of Anti-Racism and Equity regarding whether or not combining these two committees, which, as the others have said, have vastly different but mandates, as to whether for provincial direction for council on that matter. And to the point about money, I understand the staff compliment, but if there needs to be more time and money put towards it, I myself and Nicole have said we will put our own time into looking into grant funding to make it possible to, I don't know, hire more staff to help with these projects. But I strongly believe that these committees need to exist, and they need to exist on their own merit. And I have directed the province to reach out to council and the CAO directly And I hope that they are able to provide some guidance on this matter. But I would second what Councillor Baker and Councillor Hamilton have said, that for now, please, please keep us separate and allow us to do our individual work. I know from speaking to people that members of these committees do not want to have expressed in the past that they do not want to see the two committees combined for all the reasons that have been stated. And I hope you will take these lived experiences into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? I guess there's none, and we've concluded our business for the night, so I will take a motion to adjourn. Councillor Andrew and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Kroll, all those in favor? Those opposed? We adjourned at 8:59 p.m. Thank you very much.